We are now 5 whole seasons into the Delaware Dynasty on College Football 27. Last season was our craziest yet, where the offense was a total roller coaster for all of the wrong reasons. Luckily, we have a new 5-star quarterback prospect to possibly be the savior of the program, but he's got a lot to clean up. Our original quarterback last season was benched halfway through the year, causing us to spiral out of control and miss the playoff. We do return wide receiver Miles Johnson, who was surprisingly redshirted after a Heisman Trophy caliber start through the first 3 games of the year. With Johnson's return and potentially a new standout quarterback to get him the ball, the pressure for Delaware to compete is higher than ever. Welcome everyone to year number 6 of the Delaware Dynasty here on College Football 27. Last episode, we made our big move up to the Big Ten. And our first season in the conference certainly had some ups and downs. We won 10 games, and we were in the mix for the college football playoff throughout basically the whole year. But it was also very obvious early in the season that this team had fundamental flaws on the offensive side of the ball. Week 2 against Boise State, we didn't score until halfway through the 4th. Week 3 against Arkansas, we had to scratch and claw our way through to get that win. It was really one guy early in the season, senior receiver Miles Johnson, who completely carried the offense with his 99 speed. I made the surprise decision to redshirt him after our 3rd game of the year because we've got other good receivers ahead of him, and to be completely honest, it was pretty clear that our team was not good enough last year. I was able to tell 3 games into the season. The offense had fundamental problems. Why waste Miles Johnson last year when this season I think the offensive personnel is hopefully going to be a lot better and the quarterback play is going to be a lot better? Because it was kind of obvious early last season that our quarterback play was just not good enough. Vi Zambrano threw 10 interceptions and fumbled it 5 times in his first 7.5 starts before getting benched. Enough was enough after the Michigan game. Eric Dickens did a better job of avoiding turnovers, but otherwise, the offense wasn't that much better with him in there. We had a solid running back duo with Jameer Yates and Nelson Wheeler, but both of them were only 1-year rentals in the portal. Our top 3 wide receivers are also set to leave, along with 4 starters on the offensive line. So we're going to look very different on offense. We're going to shuffle the deck, which really isn't the worst thing in the world given the problems we've had on that side of the ball. We are going to have Miles Johnson back, though, which is a big deal. We ran the offense through him the first 3 games of the year. He's the only reason why we beat Arkansas, and to be honest, he's probably the only reason why we beat Boise State as well. The receiving core other than Johnson looks a lot weaker going into next season, which is part of the reason why I was comfortable redshirting him, given that we already have Langford and Glasgow and Mosley. The offensive line was honestly really bad last year. The numbers don't show it, but they were not good. Defensively, it was certainly a mixed bag because statistically, we were one of the better defenses in the country. But in the bigger games that we played, our defense often came up short, which ended up being kind of a problem for us during crunch time in the big games that really mattered. We're going to lose a lot of starters on both sides of the ball. At the players on these 2 screens, about 2/3 of them are seniors. So it's going to be a very different looking team going into next season, but luckily we have a lot of NIL. We're currently projected to put over 2,000 points into the roster and over 2,000 points into recruiting. We went hard on the recruiting trail this year. Our roster philosophy over the series has been to focus on the transfer portal. And while that's still true to an extent, we have a much bigger and more talented high school class than the past, particularly with quarterback J.J. Bayer, the number 3 overall prospect and the number 1 quarterback in this year's high school class. He's got an opportunity to potentially start right away for us and maybe change the fortunes of the program. We've got a really good group so far with 2 5-stars, 4 4-stars, and 6 3-stars, and hopefully that number will continue to go up. As for the rest of the roster, we know we're losing about 2/3 of our starters. So the remaining guys, I would like to largely bring back so we can have some level of continuity going into next year. Roughly half the roster is filled with seniors, including the last true freshmen from season 1 who are now graduating, which means it's all fictional players now in the roster. So this is how I'm going to use our points. With Vi Zambrano, it's obvious. We've got to move on. He was not good enough. We're letting him go. With Eric Dickens, I originally gave him 50, but I think I'm actually going to move it down to 0. I'm okay with losing him. Now, I like Eric Dickens, But he wants to play, and I think he's earned the opportunity to be a full-time starter somewhere. If he wants to come back in the portal, I'm happy to retain him, but I want to give him the opportunity to blossom elsewhere. Aside from them, I would like to bring back most of our returning starters, which granted isn't that many players, but I do want some level of continuity going into the next season, except for maybe punter, because I'm not trying to give my punter NIL. But in terms of the positions, I think we really need to go after in the portal. Quarterback, we need to get a grown-up in the room. I feel like we need a true starting running back. Receiver, we could probably use one or two more, even with Miles Johnson coming back. Tight end, we could always use depth. Offensive line, we probably need one more starter. The defensive line needs like 3 guys. I think we're pretty good in the back end. We really don't need to go hard after defensive backs. I think we're in a good spot there. Maybe add another linebacker. But I would say trench play is probably the biggest thing. Offensive line and definitely defensive line. We need to add a veteran quarterback. We need to add a true star running back. And maybe another pass catcher to the mix. I think that's where we really need to focus. Tight end Kari Collar has verbally committed to USC. That's a big one. He's a top 50 prospect and the number 2 tight end in the class. We'll talk about him shortly. So we have 6 players who are interested in transferring. Now, interestingly, Zambrano is the only quarterback here. Eric Dickens wants to stick around, even though we took all of his NIL away. That really says something about him, that he wants to play for this program that badly. And now we don't really need to add a veteran quarterback with experience in the portal because we have one. In terms of trying to retain our transfers, linebacker Casey Sisko is back. Center Michael Smoker is back. Fullback Dafari Okorafor is back. Linebacker Gabe Wallaball returns. Running back Antoine Tutt has not been persuaded, so he'll be leaving. Him and Vi Zambrano are the only 2 players transferring away. However, we do have a very large senior class. We've got the last originals like Kevin Moore and DeMarco Daniels who have played huge roles for us defensively. Jeremy Hurd, remember when he had 4 sacks in a game as a sophomore? Out of nowhere. I think he only had 7 in his career. Cole Carmichael's been here the last 4 years. R.J. Mosley's been a key receiver for us and has developed into a good player. Terrell Brady, Andre Amos, C.J. Treggs, all starters on our horrible offensive line. Corbin Glasgow, first-round draft pick. Evan Langford's going to get picked. There's Miles Johnson, but don't panic. He will be back because last year I redshirted Quayman Gates. He showed up on the graduation list, but he ended up coming back on the roster. That's why I know Miles Johnson will be retained. Both of the running backs are gone. Wheeler and Yates. Many defensive linemen, many offensive linemen. Tyrone Chance, Chadwick Cannon, etc., etc. Such a large number of players, a number of key players from our team. And we did end up having some guys who were not projected to get drafted who ended up slipping in. Corbin Glasgow does go in the first round. Polo Anderson's another big one. He goes top 100. And we had a bunch of day 3 draft picks. Both of the running backs slipped in. R.J. Mosley slipped in. The one thing I will lead this senior class with is I hope in the NFL Nelson Wheeler gets a little bit more luck with the ladies. All right, so now we get set for recruiting and the transfer portal. Now, keep in mind, we do have a bigger high school class this year, so we don't need to stack players from the portal, but we do have holes and need some starters. We'll clean things up, starting by taking off Deshaun Hoker. We've been dealing with his deal breaker all year. It seems like he's going to go to A&M or Miami anyway. But we've still got some competitive races with some of these freshmen, and I'm going to put a lot of points into a number of these guys. Defensive tackle Theo Baggs is a close race. He's a JUCO sophomore, so a little bit older, but we have like 2 defensive linemen returning. That's not a lot. Linebacker Jawan Bloom is a guy I really want. We're going to focus on his deal breaker. And then as we look down here, Roy Mare at guard. Florida State out of nowhere has taken the lead. I thought it was going to be one of us or Pitt. And I'm going to put 50 into both of these tight ends, Collar and Fatanikun. Tyree Fatanikun we had the lead for. I think there's a good shot we will get him, but Kari Collar is the big name here. He's the number 2 tight end in the class, a top 50 player nationally. I'm still optimistic because we were very clearly in 3rd place. Now, even though he's verbally committed to USC, we've passed Oklahoma, which almost makes me think we can pass USC, even though our pitch isn't very favorable for him and we were unable to sway him. If USC slows him down and goes after portal guys, I think we could flip him. Now let's add to our roster. Unfortunately, there are no 5 stars interested, unlike last year. We're probably going to have some 4 stars interested, that's for sure. There's a number of them, particularly in the secondary, which is ironic because we don't really need defensive backs, including Marcus Branch, who, remember, wanted to come here last year in the portal. He was the number 2 overall player. Now he's only number 63, but I would love to bring him in. Antonio Brown is here. He was teammates with Branch at Oklahoma. There's another corner as well in Max Jackson. I know these 4-stars are interested, Jackson and Sisk and Putasi, but those are not really the positions I want to really have competitive races for. I think we have bigger needs at running back, and offensive tackle, and defensive line. I'd rather go after highly regarded players there and then get filler guys at the other positions like the secondary. So I really want to focus on guys who are interested, guys who want to come here. I'm going to add a couple of quarterbacks, both of whom were on North Carolina last year. As I said earlier, I really want to start running back. The only 5-star isn't interested, but what about these top 4-stars like Shaquille Cornell or Ezekiel Dzubnar? What about a guy like Cordell Sparks, who we went after heavily as a high school prospect last year, went to Michigan State, now he's in the portal. I'd love to bring him here. Offensive tackle Dexter Balaj would be a big get, and there's a bunch of 3-star tackles who are first. I'm going to add a lot of these guys to the board. In terms of the offensive line in the interior, someone like Deontay McNabb, I think could work. Guard isn't as big of a need compared to tackle, but we could still use some more bodies there. We've got to get edge rushers. We struck out last year. I'm not letting that happen again, and there luckily are some good ones that we can go after this year. Defensive tackle is also a huge need. Now, unfortunately, we're out of spots on the board, so I ended up taking some guys off. I don't think we need to go after both quarterbacks right now. Sparks doesn't fit the deal breaker, but I want to keep him on for the time being, even with the other 2 running backs. We put like 10 offensive linemen on. I don't think I need 10. So I decided I'm going to take some of these guys off and then put some of them back on later once we start to lose out on some of these battles, and then go back to the defensive line because this is what we really need the most. We only have 2 returners from last year. I figured I'd add a 5-star just to see linebacker Calvin Corker. I think adding a superstar linebacker would be pretty exciting for this team, even though it's not a huge position of need. And then from there, we now have put our board together, our transfer list of currently about 16 guys. So we already have a number of players ready for visits. These are some of the freshmen. I might as well have them come now because the last 3 weeks I'm going to want to give to the transfer players. So why not get these guys in the building and get it over with? As for the transfers, I'm going to give them all scholarships, but the top guys like Calvin Corker, I'm going to give them very high NIL offers to try to sway them into coming here. For the guys I want the most, like the stars, I'm going to offer 50 to. Everybody else who we have the lead for, I feel like I can go after a little bit more laxed. In terms of our budget, we have about 500 left over. That accounts for all the players we have on the recruiting board. I still want to improve our facilities, though, so I'm going to make some additions to the facility we have now and spend most of our remaining dynasty points on improving that from a D- to a D+. I think next offseason is when we're going to buy the next level of facilities. Let's simulate the week now. We have some movement, some good, some bad. So the running backs are down to 5. We're in second for both. Corker locks us out. That's unfortunate. We gave it a good try. There wasn't really anything else we could have done. Mare, the guard, goes to Florida State. Baggs, the defensive tackle, goes to Arkansas. It didn't really look like we were going to land either of those guys. So now it's pretty much official. As for the running backs, we're in the mix for both of them. We're only really competing with one school. I think we could make this happen. I am going to add some of the guys who we originally had on our list back since we took some guys off. With Kari Collar, USC still going after him. They've got a visit this week. It's over. He's going to USC. So I'm going to put on a wide receiver to replace him, Quincy Agudosi, who had nearly 1,200 yards at Memphis. He's really impressed me when we've played the Tigers over the last couple of years. We've got a lot of guys ready for visits. I don't want the running backs to come in together. So I'm going to have Cornell come this week and Dzubnar come in next week. That way we don't get the competitive visit. As for Dexter Balaj, he's one of the guys I want the most. I think I'm going to have him come week 3. I want to save his visit. As for the other week 2 visits, we're going to go with McNabb, the guard, Dylan Darr at defensive tackle, and then Marcus Branch. It'll probably be us or Michigan State for him, and then we'll wait on Joey Jewell at offensive tackle. We have the big lead for Bloom. I took our points off of him, but I'm going to keep them on Fatini-Kun now that the other tight end we had is gone. Otherwise, a lot of these guys are getting big 50s. I do need to give some extra points for Balaj so I can really go all out on him. It seems like Texas A&M is very interested. But otherwise, this is how we're going to use our points in week 2. Let's simulate the week now, halfway through the offseason. No one locks us out. That's good news. Dzubnar, one of the 2 running backs, we're in first for now. He's the guy who didn't even visit last week. He's visiting this week. That's a really good sign. Balaj is visiting this week. As for McNabb and Darr, they each came last week. It's not looking good for them or Marcus Branch, really. McNabb, I don't see us passing Florida. Dar, I don't see us passing Mississippi State. I'm going to cut my losses now. As for Shaq Cornell, he visited last week. We're still in second. Given that we had the lead for Dzubnar, I might as well just go all in on him and hope that maybe Cordell Sparks is willing to relook at the deal breaker. For Marcus Branch, we're not looking great, but I still want him, so I'm going to up the NIL offer. I'm going to do the same for Antonio Brown. TCU is a big lead. I'm going to add another running back to the list, Jaden Lake, and then fill out the rest of the board with a couple defensive players. So right now we've got 2 available slots for week 3 with Dzubnar and Balaj already visiting. We've got 2 more that we can do. We got to get Antonio Brown in here. I think we're in trouble in his race, and then I'm going to go with edge rusher Fetu Mahe. As for week 4, I want Deion Sermons to come in. I think I'm going to have Joey Jewell come week 4, and then I'm going to wait on the other offensive linemen because I don't really want the competitive visit with Jewell. I put the points back on Bloom, not because I think we really need to, but I honestly feel like we have a lot of points left over. I'm going to up Fatini Kuhn's NIL offer because Oregon is back in the mix, and he's visiting them this week, so I'm a little worried we're not going to get him now. Otherwise, this is how we will use our points for week number 3. Let's see if we can get anybody to commit going into the final week of the offseason and our final set of visits. We've got 2 more available for week 4. So we land a hard commitment from edge rusher Fetu Mahe. He visited this past week. Obviously, the visit went really well. So we're not going to completely strike out on edge rusher like we did last year because we actually get one. We do lose out on Marcus Branch. He says no to us for a 2nd straight year. Balaj, we're in a recruiting battle with A&M. Brown, we're in a recruiting battle with TCU. And of course, we've got 2 guys who are currently in 2nd place visiting the campus this week. Akron wants Bryce Khaled. Wow, that's out of nowhere. Akron burned us for him last year, and they're trying to do it again. Luckily, we're having Sermons visit this week, but I feel like we need to have Bryce Khaled come in even with the competitive visit, because otherwise I don't see how we're going to get him. Illinois has given Cordell Sparks a scholarship, so I think we're out on him. Quincy Agudosi has a new deal breaker. We didn't add any receivers to the list. I also don't see the problem because he's absolutely going to play. But since we're in first place, I'm going to keep him on and hope for the best. I don't think it's likely we're going to get Antonio Brown, but I'm going to up the NIL offer because he's visiting TCU this week. Hatfield, I don't think we have a chance for, so we've got a couple open spots. I'm going to add a wide receiver, a guard, and a linebacker. As for our final 2 visits, I really don't want to have competitive visits, but I feel like we've got to pick an edge rusher and an offensive tackle with Khaled and then Major Lambert. I don't really think we have a choice. Otherwise, this is how we're going to use our points. Oregon took their visit and scholarship off of Fatini Kuhn, so it looks like we're going to get him. It felt like we had extra points again this week. I feel like that's too good to be true, though. Last week we had extra, and then Bryce Khaled out of nowhere wants to go to Akron. So I'm a little worried we might get unlucky again, but I feel like this is the best combination of all of our points. With that, let's simulate the week. Let's see who will be joining the program. We only have 13 commitments so far. We start with tight end Tyree Fatini Kuhn. Finally, we get a 4-star tight end to come here. I think there's a chance he's our long-term starter there. Running back Ezekiel Dzubnar, 1,200 yards last year at Georgia Tech. Not only will he be our starter, but I think he's the best running back we've had. Offensive tackle Joey Jewell. He'll probably start as well. We recruited him in high school, so now it's kind of full circle. We get him in the portal. Ofisa Tatupu, offensive tackle. Major Lambert, we were in 2nd, had a good visit down the stretch. Same can be said for Deion Sermons. 10 sacks last year at Tennessee. He impressed me in the bowl game when we played against them. Wide receiver Evan Smith. He's a high school prospect. We gave him a scholarship at the beginning of the year, and nobody went after him. Not once. Linebacker Jawan Bloom, another freshman. I'm excited about him. He was a gem. Defensive tackle Ethan McLeese. I would expect he'll be a starter. Linebacker Ben Carmen gets us a young depth piece. Wide receiver Quincy Agudosi, nearly 1,200 yards last year at Memphis. Quarterback Taj Looker gets us another guy with experience in the room coming from UNC. Linebacker Jaleel Skaggs will play a lot this year. Guard Keelan Hyde will be a developmental depth piece. Wide receiver Stefan Skanina. He's a true sophomore, 6'3", big kid with solid production last year at South Carolina. Now, we did lose out on a lot of guys, some surprises. I wouldn't necessarily say this ended up really being a win for us. Bryce Khaled burns us twice. He's an op now. Jaden Lake's going to BYU. I didn't see that coming. Ramon Donnerson to Texas. Did not see coming. Georgia Rocha-Madu to Georgia. Did not see coming. We lose out on Balaj. We lose out on Brown. Those two were a little more predictable, but Balaj especially is a really disappointing one. I really wanted him. We have over 1,400 points unspent, which is crazy because in Season 1, we didn't have that many points entirely. We finished with the 20th ranked class, 20th high school class, 8th transfer class. We didn't have as much quantity as the past. Interestingly, Memphis was in first there. But we've got a good group. 2 5-star freshmen, a few 4-stars. We didn't get any 4-star transfers this year. Last year, we got a handful. This year, we were unsuccessful, but we got a bunch of really good 3-stars. And as we've seen throughout this series, 3-star transfers are often the meta. We've landed some really good players that way. In terms of position changes, Joey Jewell, I'm going to slide over to left tackle. Major Lambert as well. I want to balance out our left and right sides in terms of edge rushers and offensive line. Josh Tripucka to strong safety. Artie Haggins, true freshman, will play strong safety. Keegan Smith, our athlete, I recruited him as a linebacker, but he looks like a monster edge rusher. I think I will have him play at linebacker, but he'll get some snaps at edge, and we'll figure out maybe if that's his long-term position. Regardless, he will be on the field a lot this year. He's going to play a very big role for us, and I'm excited to see how we develop him. He also has elite dev trait. Let's take a look at these dev traits, see if we landed anything spectacular. Coffee is impact. Smith, obviously elite. J.J. Bayer has star. That'll play. That works. He's a 76, which is a little lower than I hoped, but he's got a good dev. I'm confident he'll be quite good. Watkins only is normal, but Terrell Waring has elite. He looks like a beast. I think he is going to play next year, probably a lot. Jawan Bloom has star. That's a big one. His rating was kind of low, but he's got a high development trait. DeZubnar has elite. He's an 84. He's kind of slow. I really wanted a second-level playmaker at running back. That's not his game, but he's very physical in between the tackles. He will make us a tough, physical rushing team. Bryce Khaled has star. That's disappointing now that I don't like him, and I'm choosing to root against him. On to training results, the most fun part of the offseason. We do have one development increase. It's Leon Irvin, who goes up for a second consecutive season. He is our highest-rated non-special teamer as a 91. We really didn't have any of our top guys go up a lot, but Dickens gets a +3. He's an 85. Looker is an 81. At running back, DeZubnar is an 87, so he's the best one in the room. We've got some depth, a lot of guys who have developed over the years. Miles Johnson's an 88. We've got 5 really good players at wide receiver. On the offensive line, we're going to be really nice. Joey Jewell will be better than what we had last year at left tackle, and with at least 4 new starters, I think we'll be good there. The defense, I think, looks really promising as well. We don't have a ton of depth up front, but we've got a lot of really good players. Khalid Sandridge goes up 7. He's got 99 speed. His elite dev trait certainly coming in handy there. After redshirting him last year, I think he is going to play a lot. Since we lost a lot of seniors this past season, we only have 68 players on the roster, so we're not going to have to cut anyone. And for the first time since Season 3, we are not moving conferences. We are going to stay in the Big Ten for a second straight year. So as I simulate to the start of the year, we will begin this season with the number 10 ranking, which is lower than last year. Last year, we were number 4. We are a 95 overall, the exact same as last year. I think only a couple teams, Georgia and Texas, are 97s. Everybody else is lower. So we're the 3rd highest rated team in the entire game. As for our custom schedule, we're going to start week 1, see some old friends at Lane Stadium against Virginia Tech. And then week 2, right into conference play with number 6 Oregon at home. Then I want to play Memphis again. We always have good games with them. Our other non-con games are Buffalo and then FCS Northwest. I just kind of wanted to see what would happen if this team plays against an FCS team. Let's talk about recruiting now. We could go after Kyle Pitts, but his deal breaker isn't that high. I wanted to focus on players who I think are really talented. First of all, we have 3 5-stars at offensive tackle, safety, and tight end. Maybe not the positions you would expect, but I think these guys could be really, really good high-end players for us. I wanted to go after some really, really good players who maybe are long shots. It worked last year with J.J. Bayer. But otherwise, I wanted to largely put players on the board who we're already pretty high on and are in first 4. That way, we can really go after some of these guys who are ranked super highly and are unlikely. We can put a lot of points into them early and then go after the middle tier players largely filled with 3 stars. We haven't found any gems yet. Last year, we had a bunch. This year, finally, Tim Osika. He only has 77 speed, though, at linebacker. Are we sure he really is a gem? Mostly bust, though, which is kind of disappointing. But there are some good players here. There's a gem, Greg Brown. He looks good at linebacker. I will certainly be going after him. Safety, Davis Rolfhauser. He's a junior, but at least we got another gem. And then we finish off with one, guard Juan Turner. So at least we ended strong. Let's simulate to week 0 now. I think this is what I'm going to do in terms of points. So for the 3 5-stars, I'm going to give them really big NIL offers, but I'm not going to do the max. I'm going to try to placebo effect them, where I'm going to give them the bigger number later, and I hope, I don't know, that'll help get us extra influence. Guard Zach Tucker, he's not a 5-star, but he might as well be. He's the 36th ranked player, so I'm going to do the same with him. So for the guys who we do not have on their list, we're going to give a bunch of points to them now and not worry about the guys who are interested in us, at least for the first week or two, just so we can figure out who we have a real shot at, who we don't. Let's now meet the roster and figure out who the starting quarterback will be to begin the year. I think it's a very doable schedule. I think it's a lot easier than last year. We only play 4 preseason ranked teams. 3 of them are at home, and the only road game is against number 25. I think our goals are pretty easy. Ironically, the hardest one is probably the 17 turnovers, which would get us the least amount of dynasty points. But let's meet the team and most importantly, figure out who the starting quarterback will be. So we've got 3 guys. Eric Dickens has played here. He knows the system. He knows his way around the building. Taj Looker has started in a power conference and has 94 speed. Then there's the 5-star freshman, J.J. Bayer. Look, I'm not paying him 470 dynasty points to sit on the bench. J.J. Bayer will be the starting quarterback to begin this season over Eric Dickens and over Taj Looker. It's not an easy choice because I like Dickens and his rating is higher, but I think Bayer will pass him sooner rather than later. This guy was the number 3 prospect in America. He's going to be really, really good. Now, he's a different type of quarterback to what we've had in the past. I think he's got the best pure arm. He's got phenomenal accuracy. He can move a little bit, but that's not his game. We need to have a good structure in place, and if we block like we did last year, that will be a problem, a big problem. At running back, Ezekiel DeZubnar will be the starter. He's not the fastest, and I really wanted to add a second-level playmaker, which we really didn't add, if we're being completely honest. But he's a guy who I think is going to be really solid for us. In between the tackles, churning out tough yardage, 1,200-plus yards in the ACC a season ago. So the power conference production is there, but we're going to have to figure out who the number 2 and who the number 3 will be behind him, because right now I'm not really sure. The biggest return from last year is without question Miles Johnson. And look, it was a bold decision to redshirt him after the season he was having. But I think this offense around him will be better. I'm confident the quarterback play will be better, and I'm confident we will be able to maximize him, unlike last year as a result. 99 speed, 96 agility, 99 change of direction. The guy moves different. Next to Johnson, Terrell Cheeseman finally gets to start. Stefan Skanina and Quincy Agudosi will be good additions in the portal. Damian Booth, meanwhile, is 98 speed. I guess he might be the Johnson replacement. George Terzili returns at tight end, and the offensive line will officially have 5 new starters. Our lone returning starter from last year will be a backup. I'm excited it's a new group, because last year the offensive line was pathetic. As for the defense, again, a lot of new faces. We don't have a ton of depth on the defensive line, but we added some good veterans inside of the transfer portal. Obviously, the big fish, though, is our new 5-star linebacker, Keegan Smith. He is going to play all over the place. He, to me, is a linebacker. I think that's his best long-term fit, but I also see a world where he could be a crazy good edge rusher. He's already a reasonably big guy as is, at 6'2", 234 pounds. So if he adds some weight, he'll be the size of a regular edge rusher. I think the pass rushing tools are certainly a work in progress, but they can get better. The physical tools, though, are out of this world. In the secondary, Leon Irvin is arguably the best player on the team. He's primarily been our slot corner over the last 2 years. I want to see him more on the outside. I think he is that caliber of player. I think the plan is him and Khalil Sandridge will be the 2 starters on the outside. Derek Schott will be in the nickel, and Dorian Childress will find the field a lot as well. Sandridge is one of the guys I'm most excited about on this defense. I think he's going to be really good. As for the safety position, both of these freshmen are playing. I'm not redshirting them. I think they're both really good. Terrell Warren especially, he to me is at the level that the 2 5-stars are on. I think this guy is incredible. He could be a corner in the long term, but I think this year he will probably play safety. 6'2", nearly 200 pounds. Good in man coverage, good in zone coverage with 93 speed. He's got the physicals that NFL teams are going to be really excited about. It's just a matter of continuing to develop in coverage with Jamerson Forte and Josh Tripucka, the seniors, who will play alongside Warren and Artie Haggins. The two main special teamers will be back, and I'm excited to have Miles Johnson as a returner because he had some very impressive returns last year. So now we're getting ready to go into week 1 against Virginia Tech as we have more recruiting updates. The tight end, Jalen Brittingham, he's one of the 3 5-stars. He's already down to 5. It seems like he really likes Ohio State, so that's going to be a challenging battle. Along with him, we've got Eric Starr as well. I'm going to have Starr come week 2 against Oregon. With Brittingham, I honestly kind of think it makes sense to wait a week and have him come week 3 against Memphis. So I think that's the plan there. Otherwise, not really too much to go over in terms of the points. It looks like a lot of those 5 stars, those will be very competitive races. So let's discuss Virginia Tech. There is 77 overall. They've got a really hard schedule with all the best teams in the ACC with Clemson and Miami and SMU. Jermaine Stratton is their quarterback, and he's their highest-rated player, is an 85 overall. Their second highest-rated player is also a QB. One more order of business before we get started is that we've got to name team captains. All 6 of our captains from last year are gone, so we've got to name 6 new ones. Even though he's not our starting quarterback, to see Eric Dickens choose to come here even without a guaranteed starting spot and even with no NIL, he's one of the leaders and backbones of this football team. Ezekiel Dzubnar and Miles Johnson will be our other offensive captains. And then on defense, we've got Stephen Moma at linebacker. And then in the secondary, Leon Irvin, who's been around for a little while. And then a guy who I think really deserves it is Dorian Childress, the former 1-star recruit who's battled all the way up to an 83 overall, grinding for playing time over the years. Let's get season number 6 started at Lane Stadium, home of the Virginia Tech Hokies, our college football 26 team. Kieran Riddle returns to Lane Stadium for the first time. He, of course, was the starting quarterback at Virginia Tech for 3 years before transferring to Alabama, where he won the Heisman Trophy and, of course, led the Crimson Tide to a national championship appearance. It's cool to see our old program, the old uniforms, the old stadium, because it's been a little while since we played with these guys. As I mentioned the other day in the Madden 27 video, there will still be a Virginia Tech finale. Don't worry, that is in the works. That will be coming, I promise. But for today only, sorry, Hokie Bird, you're one of the ops today, brother. We're not on your side. As for Delaware, 5-star quarterback recruit J.J. Bayer makes his first career start as a Blue Hen. He is the lowest rated starting quarterback we've had, which is crazy to think about given the expectations for this team are probably the highest they have ever been. But I am all the way in on this kid. I think he is an unbelievable talent. And to me, this team can compete to go on a playoff run and maybe beyond, even with a true freshman at quarterback. I think he's that good. And we're going to start with the ball right away. Let's meet J.J. Bayer, the 5-star, the number 1 quarterback, and the number 3 overall player in the nation from Jacksonville, Florida, leading a talented group of offensive players around him, including the return of Miles Johnson. Here's Dzubnar, goes the wrong way. He's probably played here before, given his ties with the ACC and Georgia Tech, who had a great season last year. On third down, Virginia Tech tries to cut it to the outside. It does not work. They're starting running back a little bit short of the first down. That's Trevante Honeycutt, the senior, and the Hokies will have to settle for a field goal. Sean Drake, redshirt sophomore, it is up and it is good. And the Virginia Tech Hokies lead it 3-0. Drive number 2 for Delaware, hopefully a little bit better than the last one. Play action, Bayer, under pressure, got a block for him. If our offensive line plays like it does last year, that will be a problem, and this offense could be in store for a long season. Bayer connects with Miles Johnson. His first catch of the game, it goes for a huge third down conversion, and will move the chains. Following play, Bayer now starting to settle in. He's got Terrell Cheeseman, the redshirt sophomore, inside the 10. Can we punch it in? 2nd and goal. Dzubnar in for his score, and Delaware takes the lead. I have a feeling Ezekiel Dzubnar will probably score a lot this year. 3rd down and 6 for Virginia Tech. The quarterback, Stratton, looks to throw it, and it is broken away in the secondary by Dorian Childress. We'll get it back with about 3 minutes to go in the first half. Bayer drops back, looks to throw it. Here's Miles Johnson with his speed down the sideline. You're not beating him in a foot race unless he's unable to keep his feet in bounds. He had to tiptoe his way to about the 2. Still a nice gain, though, that will result in a second touchdown. 2 scores for number 22. Ezekiel Dzubnar makes it 14-3 in favor of the 10th-ranked Delaware Blue Hens. 1 minute to go in the first half for Virginia Tech. Jermaine Stratton wide open. That one is caught to about the 10-yard line. Good throw and catch into the hands of Kamari Anku, the freshman. 3rd down and 10. Here's Stratton under pressure, wrapped up from behind. It's Jaleel Skaggs, the senior linebacker who we added in the portal with the play. I don't know why Hokie Bird's dapping up his teammate because they failed and only got a field goal. Here's Bayer on the run. Zips it into the hands of Miles Johnson. He picked up right where he left off from last year. And I've got to say, so far, this quarterback, he can sling it under pressure. That one is hauled in by Terrell Cheeseman. Bayer's at 154 yards. He looks really comfortable in the pocket. His accuracy and his poise have been very impressive. But we got to avoid the sacks as he's wrapped up, and we're going to have to use our last timeout. That'll make it a 3rd down and long. Bayer, no time at all. It's a blitz, and it works perfectly. And we're going to have to hurry back to the line, but I don't see how we're going to get this off. We've got to do a better job of picking up blitzes. We didn't do a very good job of that a year ago, and it's going to cost us some points here at the end of the first half, here to start season 6. Delaware leads 14-6. The offense looks good. Miles Johnson looks awesome. Ezekiel Dzubnar has scored twice. And best of all, J.J. Bayer. I know it's early. It's only 1 half. But the kid looks like he can sling the rock into the 3rd quarter. 3rd down and 13. Jermaine Stratton, he's going to step up. Scrambles, and it's dropped. That was a pretty good throw. With 2 defenders in the area, he got it perfectly to the receiver who could not hang on. Bayer hit hard. What a catch! Miles Johnson one-hands it. This guy is unbelievable. I mean, seriously, it's not just the speed, it's the ball skills, the body control. He's got everything. Dzubnar loses yardage on 3rd down. Even with the 2 scores, has not been very efficient. 10 carries, 31 yards. We're going to go for it on 4th down, and that's just too easy. Well, that was a really smart audible by Bayer. He saw that nobody was matched up with the tight end, Terzili. Play action, 2nd and 7. Bayer on the run. He's got Miles Johnson past the 15-yard line. Johnson's well over 100 yards. I think he's at like 130 at this point. Bayer hit as he throws incomplete. Took a hard shot, and that'll wrap up the 3rd. We'll start with a 30-yard field goal for Brendan Flavors to open up the 4th. His kick is good, and Delaware adds to the lead at 17-6. Virginia Tech knows they've got to move pretty quick, as on 2nd down, it's picked off. That was quick. Derek Schott, the nickel corner, will get us started inside the 15-yard line, and that could be the death blow for the Hokies. 1st and goal, RPO, first career touchdown for quarterback J.J. Bayer into the hands of the tight end, George Terzili, who I thought was pretty good last year. I didn't think we needed to add a starting tight end in the portal because I thought he was more than good enough. 3rd and 9, Stratton has all day. He'll scramble, gets popped by Khalik Sandridge. They're going to obviously go for it, trailing by 3 possessions. Stratton on 4th down. Scrambles again, and he will fight for the 1st and barely gets it, pummeling his way forward for extra yards. 2.5 minutes to go now. 2nd and goal for Virginia Tech, looking for their 1st touchdown. Stratton on the run. It is caught for a score by Dennis the Menace Lewis. And it's 24-13. I'm surprised they didn't go for 2. Onside kick is recovered by Delaware, so we will get it back on offense. Looking to run down some clock. 2nd and 5. Keon Keener, the redshirt junior, is gone. Touchdown, Delaware. Keener's been developing in our program for a while, but believe it or not, that's his 1st career touch. Not a bad start. Goes for a 36-yard score. 3rd and 4. Virginia Tech gets nothing. They're going to have to go for it on 4th down. Now trailing 31-13 with about a minute to go in the 4th. Stratton will look to throw it. He's under pressure up the middle. It is caught, despite a good hit by Leon Irvin. So the Hokies keep it alive a little bit longer. 4th and goal now with 15 seconds. Stratton, end zone, intercepted, and that will do it. Jamerson Forte will dive down at around the 5, and the Hokies will fall. I almost said the Hokies won. I'm used to us being Virginia Tech. Delaware wins at 31-13 against Virginia Tech. We begin the season 1-0. I think best of all, the quarterback, J.J. Bayer, looked really good, and the offense was in harmony. which really was not the case at all last year, especially early in the season. It was really yucky, but really the whole season it was ugly to watch. But today, these guys, especially in the first half, but really overall, moved it very nicely. The passing game was super efficient. Bayer averaged almost 11 yards per pass. There were a couple sacks. I don't really think they were his fault. He didn't really scramble a lot, which is probably a good thing because he's at his best in the pocket. I still think the offensive line was not great. Our run efficiency was bad, other than the touchdown by Keener. Miles Johnson was great. He had 124 yards. The O-line had some really bad reps, but the reps they won like a lot. They dominated them. Defensively, I thought we were pretty good. Not perfect, but forced a couple interceptions and really never let Virginia Tech get in the game, which is the biggest thing I can ask. So we'll fast forward into week 2, and again, recruiting is already heating up really quickly. Edge rusher Eric Starr will be visiting this week for the game against Oregon, as we are now ranked number 7. Okay, that's pretty intriguing, and you'd think we would go up if we beat the Ducks. Jalen Brittingham is down to 3. Ohio State has a large lead. I kind of wish I scheduled him to come this week, looking at it now. And then a bunch of guys are down to 5, so things are happening very quickly. In terms of visits, I'm going to give Brittingham the max NIL, and I will have him come week 3. I think it's worth a shot. I think he's really talented, and we have a very favorable deal breaker. With Starr, we've got to really move quickly with him, and that includes upping his scholarship to be as much as possible. While with Brittingham, who's visiting next week, I want to give him the best pitch possible, and there's a couple that it could still be. Since we're down by so much, I think we have to take the gamble and just hope it's the best one that fits us, which would be Conference Legend. It might not even be that, but I don't see us landing him if it's not the pitch he wants. So it's just kind of worth a shot, I feel like. We're going to have Nathan Terrell, a 5-star visit in Week 3 versus Memphis. Defensive back Kadeem Gillikin will visit in Week 3. And then we've got one more spot between these two defensive tackles. I guess it doesn't really matter. We'll have one come Week 3. We'll have the other one come in Week 4 against Buffalo. So I'll have Notori Kennedy visit for the Memphis game. And then LaMarcus Lincoln will come in Week 4 for the Buffalo matchup. So we've got our visit set for next week. I'm also going to up Nathan Terrell, the 5-star safety scholarship, because Alabama and Clemson are going after him really hard. So I figure if we want to be in the mix, we've got to give him as good of a pitch as possible. So let's look at Oregon. They are number 5, one of the top teams in the conference. We did not get to play against them last year. They beat, ironically, Memphis in the first game of the year. This happened last year, too. I feel like us and Memphis had the exact same early season schedules. Like last year, they played Boise State the week before they did, and they played Arkansas the week before they did. That's really weird. But anyway, let's look at the Ducks. They've got a really good duo at wide receiver, the 2 best players on the team. They've got, overall, a very, very good offense, a really good running back. Morris Harper, true junior, is the quarterback. He has 99 throw power and can really make all the throws. This is as big of a Week 2 matchup as you'll find in conference against one of the top teams, not just in the Big 12, but one of the top programs in the country. An Oregon team that absolutely could contend for the national title. We'll see what we can do against the Ducks. As on second down, Harper play action. That one is tipped and intercepted. How did that work out? Deion Sermons gets it to the 35. I think that ball was in the receiver's hands, and then it was like kicked out. And Sermons ended up with it. I don't know how we pulled it off, but I'm not complaining. So now Delaware will get it on offense, trying to... Yeah, there's the replay. What? 3rd down and 10 now at the 10 for Delaware, looking to take advantage of the turnover. Bayer back in the end zone for Stefan Zganina for the score. And the Blue Hens are looking good early on both ends of the field. We get the early turnover on defense, and we score the touchdown on offense. 3rd down for Oregon. Harper. That one is nearly intercepted as it's broken away by Derek Schott. We'll get it back on offense. Very, very good start. Final play of the quarter. Bayer scrambles. He's not really a runner. He fumbles the ball. It's picked up by Terzili, who is actually able to get positive yards out of that somehow. 3rd and inches. Play action. Bayer looking deep. It is caught! Terrell Cheeseman to the 15-yard line. He had his step on the receiver. And now we've got ourselves in position to add to the lead. Ezekiel DeZubnar with the score. And it's 14-0 in favor of Delaware. We look great so far against number 5 Oregon. 3rd down and medium. Here is Harper. Hit as he throws, incomplete. Oregon's got a decision to make, and they want points. They're going to bring out the field goal unit. Lucas Lawrence, a long one from 50. No good. Wide to the left. And it remains 14-0 in favor of the Blue Hens. 3rd down and 7, final play before the 2-minute timeout. Bears hit on the blitz, and it's incomplete. So Oregon will get it back, trying to get any kind of points before halftime. Harper winds up on 3rd down. It is broken away late. Good work defensively by Stephen Moma, the linebacker, in man coverage. 14-0 lead for Delaware. Offense started quick. I think we stalled out a little bit. It doesn't help that Miles Johnson took a big hit in the first quarter. That's why we haven't really seen much of him today. The defense, though, looks pretty good as we move into the second quarter. 3rd down and 7. J.J. Bayer looks to throw it. Scrambles up the middle, incomplete. In and out of the hands of Terrell Cheeseman, who's kind of become the new number 1 today with no Johnson. 3rd and inches. Harper picked off. It's intercepted by Jamerson Forte. The senior safety gets it for Delaware. The second interception for the Blue Hens this afternoon, and we'll look to add to the lead on 3rd and 13. Bayer, his pass is caught. Terzili, not enough for the first, but it does get us in striking distance to go for it. 4th and 4. Bayer, deep ball is caught. Terrell Cheeseman past the 25. He's been good in this game. Now a 3rd down and goal for Delaware. Bayer hands it off. Ezekiel DeZubnar is short. I mean, we're this close. 4th and goal at the 2. We are going to go for it. Here is Bayer. His pass broken away. He was trying to get it to Cameron Villan, who cannot hang on, and now Oregon's got it. The running back, David Ijalana, has room. Gets by Irvin from the 2-yard line. He'll take it 98 to the crib, and the Ducks are back in the game. That is horrible. I mean, you had a 4th and goal at the 2. You didn't get it, and then allow a 98-yard rushing touchdown to put Oregon back in it. 3rd and inches. Cheeseman open vertically again. He's got it past the 15. Terrell Cheeseman is a vertical ball winner. We did not have that archetype on our offense, and it doesn't help that the offensive line was also bad. As it's Ganina, his 2nd touchdown of the game, and Delaware adds to the lead. A very pivotal score after allowing the 98-yard rushing touchdown. We needed to respond on offense after kind of a cold streak on that side of the ball, as it's 21-7. Oregon is short on 3rd down. They're going to have to go for it on 4th down and 1 with under 4.5 minutes to go. Harper hands it off, and Oregon will get the 1st down. The backup running back, Emmanuel Duggan, with a gain of 11, leaping through defenders, getting extra yardage. 3rd down and 7, less than 3 minutes now. Harper looks to throw it, scans the field, and it is caught. Ijalana with a 1st down, and there's a late flag. I think you can tack on an additional 15. A face mask from Stephen Moma, and Oregon is doing exactly what they need to here. They're moving it down the field. They'll get it at the 26 after the turnover, and they are in striking distance to make it a 1-score game. At the 2-minute timeout, 3rd down and about 3. Harper, under pressure, hit as he throws in the back of the end zone, incomplete, and they are obviously going to go for it, trailing by 2 touchdowns. Harper by himself in the backfield, scans the field, back of the end zone. David Ijalana with a rushing and receiving touchdown today. Oregon, interestingly, will go for 2. This is the right call analytically, as it is broken away, but I don't fault Dan Lanning for doing it, and I like the realism because Dan Lanning's a sicko when it comes to the 2-point conversions. 3rd down for Delaware. Bayer is sacked. Ben Ramirez on the blitz, and Oregon will get it back down by 8 with a chance to tie it. They need a touchdown end to 2. Harper scrambles, broken away, incomplete. Good defense in the secondary, and the game comes down to a 4th and 2 for Oregon. It's an RPO screen, and they will barely get it. That was close. Good tackle, but a gain of 3 for the Ducks. 35 seconds, 1 timeout. Harper, that one is caught, and Oregon is moving it as they're going to use that last timeout. Tolia Toufa with the reception. 25 seconds now, no timeouts. Harper's pass is caught. Is he inbounds? Yes, he is, so they've got to go no huddle. Tick, 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 about 15 seconds. 3rd and 7 for Oregon. They need 8 points to tie it and send it to overtime. Harper looks to throw it. Has all day. His pass is caught. Peterson gets it to the 1. Will they have enough time? I don't know. The game clock will resume, and Oregon will not get it off. They're a yard, not even a half a yard shy of the end zone. And Delaware holds on to win it. 21-13. A huge win against a top 5 opponent in conference. A statement victory for the Blue Hens. Things certainly did not go perfect. The offense started quick and then sputtered out. Defensively, it was very similar. We were great in the first half and then allowed the big play in the second half, allowed a couple big drives in the fourth. Bear was solid. I don't think he was great, but he avoided mistakes, which is the biggest thing that we obviously did not have last year. No Miles Johnson made it tricky to throw the ball, but Agudosi, Cheeseman, and Zganina were all pretty good. Defensively, started strong, 2 interceptions in the first half, then not quite as good in the second half. But we beat number 5 Oregon. That's a huge win for us early in the season, and it'll certainly put our ranking, I would think, in the top 3 or 4. We would certainly pass the Ducks, given that we just beat them. A lot of movement recruiting-wise. So Eric Starr's visit obviously went pretty well. Penn State still is the lead. We're in a recruiting battle. We're number 3. I think that's our highest ranking ever. That's pretty exciting. But we're in a recruiting battle with Starr. We've got a few guys visiting this week, including Jalen Brittingham, who has verbally committed to Ohio State. So I'm wondering, can we still come back in this battle? I think given that the pitch is not what I was hoping for, along with the fact that he visits Ohio State next week, it's over. We got to move on. We're not getting him. With Eric Starr, I don't think it's overly likely, but it's worth a shot because we've made it this far. I think there's a chance given the high scholarship. For week 4 against Buffalo, we're going to have the 5-star tackle Jalen Fleck come. He's the best player on the board. Linebacker Greg Brown's a guy I really want, and the same can be said for edge rusher Brian Rodriguez. So we've got 4 really strong players coming next week for the Buffalo game, including 3 who we just scheduled just now. So we've got Memphis coming to town. We've kind of built a little rivalry with the Tigers. We beat them twice in 2 very exciting games in Season 4, including the conference championship game to kick them out of the playoff, but they got revenge on us last year by beating us late in the regular season, knocking us out of playoff contention. They lost to Oregon. They beat their FCS opponent last week. I give Memphis a lot of credit in terms of their team building because every year their roster has been very different. They have a new starting quarterback again. It's Nate Mount, who's been pretty good this year minus the interceptions. It's really hard being one of the top smaller school programs like Memphis in the American because after having really good seasons, the power conference schools are going to poach your best players. But over the last couple of years, they've done such a good job of reloading talent. I mean, looking at last year's roster, Taekwon Canny at running back had 180 yards against us in the second half. He went to Auburn, where he's competing for the Heisman. Their top receiver, Quincy Agudosi, he's on our side now. Tigers start with it. Mount rolls out to the right side, fumbles the ball, and it's picked up by Memphis. That's Keegan Smith, the 5-star linebacker, with his first career sack. Now a 3rd down and long. Mount looks to throw it. He has all day in the pocket. It's caught. Big hit in the secondary, but an impressive grab. 3rd and 8. Mount looking. End zone. Touchdown! Memphis strikes early. Leon Irvin gets beat deep by Darryl Singletary. And that'll make it a 6-0 ball game. The extra point attempt is blocked by Dorian Childress. It's ironic we have an early missed extra point because we lost to Memphis last year because of a missed extra point. Good throw. Bayers connecting with Terrell Cheeseman. He got the worst of that hit, though. So Eric Dickens is now in as he hands it off for DeZubnar. Does not get much, and he got the worst of that one. Bruce Sternum for Bayer. He will not return today. So Eric Dickens will play quarterback for the rest of this game. Dickens looking back at the end zone. It's caught! Terrell Cheeseman with the touchdown. And the Blue Hens will take the lead unless we miss an extra point here, which, I mean, doesn't feel like a... What in the hell is happening? EA, what are we doing? The scoreboard says 6-7, so the game has just decided to break, apparently. They ended up getting like 20 yards on this play, as you'll see, because they completely screwed us over. It's still on the screen. I have to call a timeout. That's probably the only way we can get back to normal. EA, I am going to need you to put the crack pipe down, buddy. Unfortunately, Memphis continued to drive down the field as it's 3rd down and 5 inside the 10. Mount under pressure. He is brought down by Ethan McLeese. The senior defensive tackle will get Memphis away from the end zone. They'll have to settle for the field goal. Adrian Carmazzi on to kick this one from 32 yards out in the right hash to put Memphis back ahead. It is up and it is good. So the Tigers lead 9-7. This is our 4th time playing against Memphis over the last 3 years. The first 3 matchups were 3 of the best games of the entire series. 2nd and 10, it's caught! It's the former Memphis Tiger, Quincy Agudosi, with his first touchdown as a Blue Hen. I don't even know if he was the guy I was trying to throw the ball to. It might have been Miles Johnson, who was also open. But hey, that works too. I'm happy we can get Agudosi a score against his former team. So Delaware's got the lead. Mount on the run. He connects with Larry Roundtree, one of the few mainstays on this offense. He's been a key guy for them over each of the last 3 years with Agudosi in that receiving room. 2nd and 5. That one is hauled in up the middle to about the 10 by Joshua Carter, the talented redshirt sophomore. 2nd and goal, looking for the lead at the 2-minute timeout. Nate Mount is in for a rushing touchdown. Our defense just never plays well against Memphis. We've had a really good defense 3 years in a row, but every matchup against the Tigers, they've struggled. On 2nd and 2, it's Johnson. Breaks a tackle. Good to have him back. He was pretty much out the whole game last week, so we really didn't get to see much of him. About a minute left, 3rd and 12, play action. Dickens is sacked, and the drive comes to a screeching halt. Memphis has a chance to add to the lead going into the second half. That was Quan Veal with the sack, the linebacker who we went after in the portal this year and didn't get. So much time to throw it. Why is he so open? Okay, good. That had me nervous on the Hail Mary. 16-14 going into the break. Definitely not a great first half. The defense is struggling. J.J. Bayer got injured early. He finished the game only throwing 3 passes. Now, I will say Eric Dickens does look good. He's thrown for 2 scores and has been pretty impressive. Dickens is picked off. Spoke way too soon. Plenty of room on the interception return. DeAndre Barr gets by Dickens and is in for a touchdown. A pick 6 for Memphis, and they will make it a 2-score lead. Barr jumps the route perfectly on the receiver, and we've got some work to do, down by 9 in the second half. 3rd and 6, that one is caught, no first down. Quincy Agudosi. Game thinks we should go for it. I think that's insanity. No. Inside our own 50 against a team like this, I don't want to give them more momentum. We have no choice but to trust the defense, as Jaleel Skaggs is in the backfield with a sack. So Memphis is now looking at a 3rd down and long after the sack as Mount looks to throw it. Mount deep down the field. It's caught, but out of bounds. That was close. That was a good throw. So we'll get it back into the 4th quarter, trailing by 9. 3rd and inches. It's George Chukwuruma. Has room, and he is gone. It's a 1-score game. These two teams have a history of blowing leads. Last year, when we played against Memphis, we were up by 10 at halftime and lost. The year before in the conference title, they were up by 10 and lost. And of course, the other matchup that season, they should have won it. They didn't fumble it on the goal line at the end of the game. 2nd and 5, nice first down for the Tigers. They've still got the lead. They've still got the momentum, but they've got to play smart. They do not want another blown lead being added to this rivalry. Great throw on 3rd down by Mount. That'll keep the chains moving. They're in field goal range, but I'm sure they would love more than a field goal. Mount on 3rd down and 10, under pressure, and he's wrapped up. It's Jaleel Skaggs, and this is not going to be an easy kick for Memphis. This is from just inside 50, I'd say about 49. It's up, and it's blocked. Dorian Childress gets a hand on it, and Memphis has another kick blocked. Childress has gotten his hands on 2 of them today. Now we've got Miles Johnson up the middle, and Delaware is in field goal range, in position to potentially take the lead. 2nd down, Dickens, under pressure, big sack for the Tigers, and we're looking at a 3rd down and 20. Dickens looks to throw it, lobs it up, Johnson, he's got it! Miles Johnson in for a score, and Delaware comes back down by 9 to take the lead. I saw Miles Johnson was on an island. They didn't have a safety back there, and, I mean, guarding Miles Johnson, and man, how are you supposed to outrun him? 23-28, big catch. First down for Memphis, big hit, but a very nice grab by Randy Bourne, a redshirt freshman. 2nd and 13, here is Mount, scrambles, brought down, fumbles the ball. Someone pick it up. Memphis gets it, and they turn the fumble into a pretty nice gain. Instead of the 3rd and long, it's 3rd and 4, and they will get the first down run. That is incredibly unlucky. Frank Zavala with the conversion. 30 seconds, 3rd and 2. Back to Zavala. Gets it to the 5. Tick, 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 tick. Memphis does not have any timeouts, but they should have enough time, theoretically, for 4 plays to try to punch it in and take the lead. 25 seconds left. Mount under pressure. Fumbles the ball and it's picked up by Delaware. The Blue Hens will win it. A game-winning fumble for the Delaware defense. It's deja vu almost, like 2 years ago. The strip sack by Deion Sermons, recovered by Jaleel Skaggs to call game. What a matchup against Memphis. Another thriller, like always against these guys. But even in a game where our starting quarterback, J.J. Bayer, got injured early, Eric Dickens comes in and plays really well. 73% completion percentage, almost 240 yards. He had the pick six, but otherwise was really good. Miles Johnson was great. Cheeseman was great. Gudosi with his score against his former team. Defense, a little iffy, but they were clutch, and the pass rush was great. McLeese, 2.5 sacks. Skaggs, 2.5 sacks. Keegan Smith looked good. 3 forced fumbles, 2 recoveries. We dominated them up front. I think the trench play defensively is probably why we won the game. We do have a new injury, though. It's not Bayer, but our starting tight end, George Terzili, will miss the next month. So George Beckford, the backup, will play in his place, and we'll probably see a little bit of the true freshman, Tyree Fatini-Kun. So we do not get some great news, recruiting-wise. The safety, Nathan Terrell, who visited for the Memphis game, the 5-star, has verbally committed to Alabama. Eric Starr, we lose the battle with for Penn State. At least we do get a lot of points to open up, and we've got 4 guys, none of whom are in first, visiting this week for the Buffalo matchup. We'll see how we match up against the Bulls, who lost to North Carolina but beat Jacksonville State. They're coming off a bye week, so they're going to be pretty refreshed. And for a 62 overall, they're honestly a pretty good team. Mike Stokes is a good quarterback, an 87 overall redshirt senior. This team to me really is not a 62 overall. We cannot take them lightly. I get they're probably the second easiest game on the schedule, other than the FCS matchup we have later in the year. But I think these guys are better than their rating suggests, and if we view this game as an easy one and just want to focus on conference play with Iowa and Washington and Michigan coming up, then who knows, that could prove to be trouble, and maybe Buffalo makes it interesting. Bulls start with it, 3rd down and 13. Stokes looks to throw it, rolls out to the right side, on the run, overthrows his target. I like what he was trying to do, but it's incomplete. J.J. Bayer back after only throwing 3 passes last week into traffic. That was a horrible throw. I don't know what he was thinking, but he's about to get the bailout of a lifetime. Defensive pass interference against Buffalo, and instead of a punt, it's an automatic first down. Frederick Marcus, the sophomore safety, with the penalty. 2nd and inches. Here is DeZunbar. He's got room up the middle. He's not the fastest tool in the shed, but he was able to churn out a big run there, getting us near the red zone on 1st down. Bayer scrambles. Obviously not his game, but he can make some throws on the run like that one, as it's Ganina with the reception. Nearing the goal line, DeZunbar is in for a touchdown, and Delaware will strike first. Ezekiel DeZupnar makes it 7-0. Here's Buffalo, 3rd down and 13. Mike Stokes backs up in the pocket. Stokes goes short, but a big hit by Terrell Warren, the true freshman, will not let him get anywhere. Into the 2nd quarter, 3rd and inches. RPO is caught. Terrell Cheeseman, he's good on those go routes. Gets the first down. 2nd and 15. Wide open is Miles Johnson, who takes it all the way for a house call. Touchdown, Delaware, and we'll add to the lead. Once I saw Miles Johnson at all that space, I knew it was game over. 58-yarder makes it 14-0. End around. Nowhere to go on 3rd for the Bulls. A loss of yardage for Levi Watke, the redshirt sophomore. Johnson on a screen. Are you kidding me? This is not fair. Touchdown, Delaware. Miles Johnson, 2nd of the game. And he's really looking like the guy who we were so excited about early last season. I mean, he was good the first few weeks of the year, but today he looks great. Nowhere to go on 1st down for Buffalo. Good tackle by Dorian Childress. 3rd down and 12 now. Play action. Stokes looks to throw it. Goes short. Big hit. Derek shot. It's been all Delaware. We look flawless in this game. 3rd down and 7. Bayer has all day, looking deep for Cheeseman. Past the 40. Whoop. Spin move. Really nice play after the catch by Cheeseman past the 30. This passing offense looks unstoppable right now. J.J. Bayer is making every throw in the book. And it doesn't hurt that we can run the ball really well, too. DeZubnar past the 5. He's had a big first half. Everybody on this offense is eating. First and goal to Zubnar. His second touchdown of the night. This is the best half of football I have seen from this team in the entire series. The offense is getting big plays like it's nothing. The defense looks dominant. I'm going to call a timeout on first down. That's how confident I am we're going to get a stop and we're going to get the ball back. I know it feels unbelievably disrespectful, but I'm not threatened by Buffalo's offense. I want the ball back. I want another chance to score. And ultimately, that decision was right because we do get a stop. They just ran the ball, tried to flush our timeouts, and I suppose not turn the ball over, not try to do too much. Even though we didn't end up scoring at the end of the first half, this was still the most dominant stretch I have seen from this team in the 5+ seasons of this series. I mean, we look unbelievable. 28-0 going into the third, and guess who starts with the ball? Wide open is Miles Johnson. Whoop! Jukes 2 defenders, and he gets it to about the 20. Johnson's got to be close to at least 150 yards at minimum. Here's Bayer on 3rd and long. He's got Agudosi with a nice gain. Not enough for the first down, though. We'll have to settle for a field goal. It'll be a 34-yarder for Brendan Flavors, looking to make it 31-0. The kick is up, and it is good. Our offense was just flat out not capable of this last season. There's just so much more rhythm, so much more energy, so much more chemistry with this year's group. That ball is tipped incomplete. Derek Schott and Josh Tripucka with the hit in the backfield. Now into the fourth quarter, the backups are in. Dickens hands it off. Antonio Eagles on the run does not get the first, and we'll have to settle for another field goal. 27-yarder for Brendan Flavors, looking to make it 34-0. And the kick is up, and it is good for the now senior. Time flies. He's gotten old. A 4-year starter for us at the kicker position as it's 3rd down for Buffalo. They have a new quarterback in the game, and he gets sacked. That's their backup, Joel Dangerfield. Mike Stokes' final passing line, the starter, 10 for 14, 8 yards. Yet they'll get this play to turn into a gain of 48 for the true freshman tight end, Monty Moss. They even put themselves in position to kick a field goal. Nearly blocked, but it is good for Kevin Dallas. I think Buffalo just wanted to go for the field goal just so they could get some points, avoid the shutout. That was nasty. That whole game, we dominated from start to finish, winning it 34-3, although to be honest, we probably would have won by a lot more had we not taken our foot off the gas pedal in the second half. I mean, you know your offense didn't have a good game when the starting quarterback has more completions, 10, than he had passing yards, 8. J.J. Bayer was awesome. He continues to really impress me. The run game was great. The Zubnar is really turning into a good player. And in the fourth quarter, Antonio Eagles gave us some really good runs. Miles Johnson, 6 for 160 and 2 scores. The offensive line did their thing. The defense did their thing. I mean, we allowed less than 1 yard per completion. That's crazy. So for the guys who visited this week, including the top tackle, Jalen Fleck, that's a big visit. Given that we beat Buffalo by so many points, that'll certainly get us a recruiting bonus as we simulate the week now into week number 5. And conference play really is going to start to heat up. Every game for us is a Big Ten matchup except for the FCS game in week 10. Dwayne Peppers down to 3. Kennedy, Lincoln down to 3. A lot of these guys are in second. We can make some noise in some of these battles, but we don't have the lead. Did Miles Johnson not win Player of the Week? That's crazy. I figured he would at least for the Big Ten, but instead it's Enrique Velasco. Yeah, 4 touchdowns. You know what? That's fair. So with Jalen Fleck, we're still in second despite our great visit, but we're getting closer. So I think I'm going to give him the bag. 420 dynasty points. That might be enough to get us past Nebraska. Brian Rodriguez, we're in the same boat, but he's going to cost less. I'm not going to give him and Kennedy the full price, but I am going to give them more. Lincoln, I think, as well. I'm going to do the same thing just so we can get any kind of boost. I don't think we need to for Greg Brown. And then Gillikin, I don't really think we have a chance at, so I'm just going to take him off the list entirely. I'm going to do the same in terms of our scholarship for Dwayne Pepper. He's going to come week 7 against Michigan. That's not for a couple weeks, but it doesn't hurt to get the ball rolling with some of them. Tobias Zuniga will visit in week 7 as well. But that's still 2 weeks out. We've got a couple games on the road with Iowa this week and Washington next week. We'll start with the Hawkeyes, who are 3-1. Always a tough out, except for last year when we dominated them. They're only lost to their rival, Iowa State. They've beaten both Duke and Wisconsin. That's a solid win against the Badgers. They took Xavier Grimes, Minnesota's top receiver a year ago, and one of the best overall players in the Big Ten. Their quarterback is Corbin Holder. He's a redshirt sophomore. not one of the better quarterbacks in the conference, but their roster is pretty solid. We've only played one game away from home so far. That was back in week 1 against Virginia Tech. It's been a month. But here we are on the road against Iowa. The Blue Hens now 4-0, holding on to that number 3 spot in the top 25 as Iowa starts with it. Holder looks to throw on 3rd down and 4. Scrambles up the middle. That one is hauled in. Really nice throw under pressure, and it'll move the chains for the Hawkeyes. That's Grimes, the transfer from Minnesota, with the reception. 3rd down and 10. Iowa in striking distance. Holder for the end zone. It's caught. Touchdown, Iowa. They march down the field, and Sharif Blau puts them ahead 7-0. Perfectly in sync. I think that's a good way to describe this dynamic duo of J.J. Bayer, the true freshman, and Miles Johnson, the redshirt senior. On 1st and 10, Bayer backs up now in the second quarter. He's crushed, but he connects with his target, Agudosi, inside the 15, and our first drive appears to be a pretty good one. 3rd and 8, Bayer scrambles. He is hit from behind and sacked. So Iowa gets the stop. Bayer a little shaken up. I think he'll be okay. 28-yard field goal for Brendan Flavors is up, and it is good. We're on the board, but we trail by 4 as it's 7-3. Very slow-paced game. Only 2.5 minutes left in the second as on 3rd and 6. Holder's got an open man, but it's overthrown. That was not a great ball. And kind of a hospital ball, too. The safety could have easily decapitated him. 3rd and 1. DeZubnar does not get the first down. We are very much in our own territory. We would be crazy to go for it. So Iowa now has a 3rd down and 3. Holder looks to throw it. Backs up. It is caught, but no first down. Derek Schott with the tackle, and they will elect to punt it. Only about 30 seconds left, though, for Delaware. Bayer up the middle. It's caught. Johnson breaks a tackle. Johnson into the open field. Can he get out of bounds? Yes, he does. To stop the clock. 14 seconds. One timeout. Bayer. That one is hauled in past the 35 by Agudosi. With 10 seconds to go. We're in field goal range now. I took one shot for the end zone. Didn't work out. So we'll kick a field goal at the buzzer to wrap up the first half. Flavors' kick is good from 50. And it's 6-7 going into the break. We are trailing, but I think we're playing better on both ends of the floor. We still need a little more out of the offense, though, which has been good for us this year. They were great last week, but quiet today. 3rd down. Miles Johnson! Good night! Sayonara, adios! Touchdown, Delaware. There's no way you're beating him in a foot race. And once he got by the initial defender, it was game over on that play. Delaware takes the lead, now trying to put themselves up by a clean 7. Bayer on the 2-point try. It is caught. Nice grab by Quincy Agudosi. And it's 14-7. 3rd and 4. Hollis fakes the pitch to the receiver. He's tripped up and will not get the first. He's been pretty good, but not as good as he was last year when he broke off like a 75-yarder on the first offensive play of the game. Here's Delaware. Bayer's picked off. We figured it was going to happen. His first career interception. I'm honestly surprised it took this long. Ari Key, the junior from the Lawrence, Kansas, Rock Chalk with the pick. Iowa will not take advantage as Ethan McLeese is in the backfield with the sack, bringing down Corbin Holder. So we'd get it back, we'd march down the field, and we get the touchdown on the direct snap to DeZubnar. It's a 2-score lead for Delaware, 21-7. Iowa gets it back. Their offense scored on that opening drive, but they haven't gotten anything since. 3rd and 5, Holder scrambles under pressure, hit as he throws. His target was open, but the throw was low. Flag on 4th. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. That's a 4th and 5, too. That could be a first down. Neutral zone infraction on Keegan Smith. Freshman mistake. Now, luckily, they are not going to get the first down. But instead of 4th and 5, it's 4th and short, which is certainly going to be easier. With 5 to go, RPO broken away. Kalik Saintridge with the hit, and after all that, we get the ball back anyway. 1st and goal, Bayer in the flat for Antonio Eagles, the backup running back with his first career touchdown. He made enough of an impression on me last week to get some more touches today. I know it was garbage time, but Eagles looked really good against Buffalo. 4th and 4, Iowa's got to go for it. They do get it. They'll keep the game alive for a little bit longer. Another 4th down now, 4th down and 4 with the running back in motion. Here is Holder. It's caught! I don't know what Leon Irvin was doing there, but they get the first. 2nd and 3 now, about a minute and a half. Holder, short throw, caught. Iowa, touchdown. Their first point since the first quarter. Nigel Pan with the score. I'm reading on the screen he's from Boonville, Missouri. I thought that said Goonville, and I got really confused. As we recover the onside kick, looking to choose some clock, finish off the job. DeZubnar doesn't get it, but we're going to go for it on 4th. And you'll notice Eric Dickens is in the game. Bayer took a lot of hits. He needed to come out. Dickens calls game. It's caught by Agudosi, and Delaware wins it 28-14. A solid win. I wouldn't say a great win, but a solid win. Here against Iowa, we're now 5-0 on the year, 2-0 in conference. J.J. Bayer had the bad interception, but otherwise he had another really strong game. He continues to impress me. I mean, the guy can make every throw in the pocket. He doesn't really make mistakes. He had the one interception today, but he's really accurate. I mean, he makes every throw we ask. 14 of 19, 189 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. On the ground, DeZubnar. He's the best running back this team has had in this series. He's really good. Through the air, Agudosi with a big game. Johnson a little quiet, but he's still at 84 yards and a touchdown. He still played very well. The defense started poorly, finished poorly, but every drive in the middle, they were really good. We haven't really been forcing turnovers. We did early in the year, but now we're not. I don't know what that's about. All right, let's simulate into Week 6 now. We're getting close to the halfway point of the regular season. We continue to get some more bad news in recruiting. Dwayne Pepper, the tight end, going to Ole Miss. It's so hard to recruit tight ends. I don't know why. We just really struggle with it, and it looks like we're going to lose out on another good one. Now, Torrey Kennedy, we're in a recruiting battle. LaMarcus Lincoln, we're in a recruiting battle. And both guys, it's really close. So Pepper, we have scheduled to visit in 2 weeks against Michigan, but we're down by a lot. He has a visit with Ole Miss after. I just don't really see this happening, which sucks because I think he's a really good prospect. But unfortunately, we're going to have him go to Ole Miss. With Jalen Fleck, I'm doing everything I can to get him. I gave him the max scholarship. I'm giving him his ideal pitch. Nebraska has more, I guess, motivation for him. I don't see a world where we're going to get him, which sucks because he's a monster, and I hate to take him off the board when we're this close, but I just don't really see a world where it can happen. So unfortunately, we are going to take Jalen Fleck off, and of the 3 5-stars we put on at the beginning of the year, we're going to get none of them, unlike the 2 last year where we got both. I'm going to take a couple of these linebackers off as well. I want to clean things up, figure out the guys who I'm actually in the mix for. I still want to schedule some visits for the Michigan game. We're struggling for safety Davis Rothhauser, but I'm going to have him come Week 7 anyway, kind of as a Hail Mary. Cornerback Juan Chavez will be a complimentary visit for him, and I want him to come anyway, so the timing makes sense. And then with these 2 guards, I think getting Juan Turner in earlier is probably more important. So I'm going to have Turner come for Week 7. For LaMarcus Lincoln, I'm going to give him the max scholarship, and to Torrey Kennedy, I'm going to give the max scholarship too, because those guys were so close for. It's neck and neck. Anything we can do to push ourselves over the other teams in the battle, I'm going to do. So we are undefeated in conference still. Washington, meanwhile, is so bad they're not even on the graphic. You really hate to see it. They're 2-3 so far this year. They've lost 3 in a row to Washington State, Michigan State, and UCLA. Now, it's interesting that their most recent game was against UCLA because I think this game for us has a lot of parallels to our matchup against UCLA last year, where we went on the road to the West Coast against an unranked UCLA team who we thought we were going to beat, and obviously we didn't. I see a little bit of the same with Washington. Why do they have so many receivers? Is that not overkill? They've got like 10 good ones. The biggest parallel between them and UCLA is the quarterback. It's the exact same guy. Daquan Gainwell, I think, is one of the top quarterbacks in the country. Was with UCLA last year, transfers to Washington, where he's having a really strong season. He played well against us a year ago. He's very accurate. He's very consistent. He doesn't turn the ball over. I said it last year. If this was our NCAA Next Up series, I think he'd be a pretty high draft pick in the NFL. And I think above all else for Washington, this is a game they have to win because they've lost 3 in a row. They cannot lose another one. Juke move by DeZubnar for the first down in the rain. Given that we're in Seattle, not entirely a surprise. 2nd down and 3. Bayer, end zone, touchdown! Delaware strikes first. Quincy Agudosi with the score. We march right down the field. We make it 7-0. Gainwell on 3rd and 14 goes short. Can they get the first? Not quite, but a good effort. Javier Shed gets about 10, and they're going to go for it. 4th down and 4 early in this game. A little bit in front of the 50. Gainwell on the run. Hoists it up, and it's caught! 1st down, Washington. That's Kevin Antwine, the highest rated of their 20 million receivers with the catch, and the Huskies take advantage with the score. Matthew Trapp, the junior running back, knots this one up at 7 apiece. Delaware's moving it, though, on their next drive, 3rd and 12. Bayer, short throw is caught. Gudosi breaks away from the tackle, and instead of the gain of 3, he gets like 9. So much so that we can go for it. Dzumbar, first down and more. Touchdown, Delaware. Ezekiel Dzumbar with the score. I don't know if Washington wasn't expecting the run or what, because he was not touched until he got tripped up in the end zone. 14-7, 2nd and 5. Daquan Gainwell looks to throw it. Scrambles to the right. Hit as he throws, and it's caught with 2 defenders sandwiching the receiver. That's Antwine again who makes the catch. Minute 20 left in the half. Gainwell, touchdown Washington. And the Huskies tie it. Bruce Ingram with the score. He's their other super highly rated receiver. 14-14, 2nd and 10. Bayer wrapped up for a loss by Terrell Hines, and it's a 3rd and long. Washington uses a timeout. 3rd and 20 to be exact. Bayer scrambles. Not really his game, but he can do it. Looking down the field, it's caught! First down, Miles Johnson. And we're going to call a timeout now. We've got one more with 18 seconds. 3rd and inches. Bayer hit as he throws, tipped and incomplete. We could take the lead, but instead we're going to go on 4th and inches. Bayer looking deep. It's caught. No, it's dropped! How did he not catch that? Terrell Cheeseman had the easiest catch of his life right in his hands. And that's probably a 7-point, at minimum a 3-point difference. That's brutal. And this game is tied going into the break, 14-14. Both offenses looking the part as we move into the 3rd. Washington will start with it. Kyrie Komar on the return. Gets a hole. Breaks a tackle. There goes Komar. He gets by Kyle Metzlars. He gets by the last line of defense. And he is in for a kick return touchdown. Washington takes the lead. Kyrie Komar makes it 21-14. Delaware knows they've got to respond on offense, and we do. George Beckford with the touchdown. A much longer drive than Washington's because it wasn't even really a drive. But we're now tied at 21. 3rd down and 8 for the Huskies. Minute left in the 3rd. Wide open. First down for Washington. A nice grab by Bruce Ingram to move the chains. Final play of the 3rd now. 3rd down and 6. Gainwell looks to throw it. Clean pocket. That one is broken away, incomplete. And they're going to have to settle for a field goal. It's a 48-yarder for Rico Fogg, and it is blocked! Dorian Childress does it again! Another block kick for Delaware. And we'll get it back with the game still tied at 21. Wide open is Miles Johnson. Jukes away from the defender. Gets the first, past the 40. And we'll see if J.J. Bayer can get us down the field trying to regain the lead. 2nd and 10. Bayer looking deep. It is intercepted. He underthrows Miles Johnson. And it's picked off by Washington. DJ Paris on the return near the 25-yard line. And the Huskies will get it back with another chance to take the lead. 3rd down and 10 now for Washington. Gainwell looks to throw it. Short pass. They're not going to get anything. Unable to take advantage of the takeaway as Terrell Warren will make the tackle. And here returns Delaware. 4.5 to go. Bayer looking for Miles Johnson, who reaches over and makes the catch at about the 45. We will continue to move the ball down the field as we're now at the 2-minute timeout. On 3rd down, Dzumbar, first down. Is he in? I thought he was, but not quite, which really isn't a bad thing because we can take a little time off the clock and score anyway. Ezekiel Dzumbar puts Delaware ahead by a touchdown. As the extra point by Flavors is up, and it is blocked. Dante Hay with the block, but we've got a chance to return it in. Past the 5. The big fella's just short. We almost lucked into a 2-point conversion, but now we're only up by 6. Touchdown in PAT puts Washington ahead. Gainwell up the middle. That one is caught. Washington quickly uses a timeout as that one is hauled in by Jaden Webb. 2nd and 3. Here is Gainwell looking deep. It is caught. It's Antwine past the 10. Washington uses another timeout. They've still got a minute 12, so time isn't an issue. If anything, they should probably be burning clock. 2nd and goal. Gainwell goes short. Nothing for the Huskies, which might not be the best thing for us that they do score here because they take a lot of time off. Now it's 3rd and goal. Gainwell caught. Antwine, touchdown Washington. Kevin Antwine breaks the tackle, and the Huskies are an extra point away from taking the lead. The kick is blocked. Are you kidding? Dorian Childress blocks another one. Back-to-back blocked extra points. And we're tied at 27. That is unbelievable. And now we've got a chance to win it in regulation as Miles Johnson gets it to about the 45, and we're going to use a timeout. We still have 2 more in our back pocket. All Delaware needs is a field goal. Not a great decision because it only gets us a couple yards, but more so we have to burn another timeout. We're down to 1. 2nd and 6. Bayer looking deep. Cheeseman one-on-one. He's got it! Terrell Cheeseman to the 15-yard line. Delaware gets the first and is now in field goal range. We're not going to use our last timeout. We're going to hurry back to the line, run the ball, center the kick, run the clock down, and hopefully make a game-winning field goal. Here's Eagles up the middle. That works too. Touchdown, Delaware. I wasn't even trying to score, but if you're going to give us all that room, sure, why not? I'd rather not let the game come down to a kick, given that we've had 2 blocks in the last 2 minutes. This time the field goal is good, or I guess the extra point by Flavors. 34-27. Final play of the game for Washington. Gainwell hoists up the Hail Mary. It is tipped, incomplete. And Delaware wins a thriller. The best game of the year so far, 34-27. The Hens are 6-0. We remain undefeated with a thrilling victory against Washington, who gave us all we could bargain for. But our offense continues to hoop. J.J. Bayer is really accurate, and he can push the ball down the field over 12 yards of completion. DeZubnar continues to play well. Eagles with a good game. Johnson with a big game. Cheeseman had that bad 4th down drop, but he made up for it with the catch of the day down the stretch. Defense wasn't great, but got to shout out Dorian Childress with his 2 blocks, which I guess given that we won by 7 didn't really determine the difference of the game, but still noteworthy. Greg Brown, linebacker, our first verbal commitment of the year. Defensive tackle, Notori Kennedy, hard commits. Defensive tackle, LaMarcus Lincoln, hard commits. Our defensive tackle depth was rough. Not anymore. For Brown, I still think it's a race. I thought Florida would be our toughest bet, but it's actually Appalachian State, who's in 2nd place for him. Zuniga visits this week. Both of the Wands visit this week, and Davis Rothhauser does as well. So with those 2 defensive tackles, we're going to have more points to spend. I think I'm going to keep putting points onto Brown, though. I want to make sure we get him, and I think he's a really good player. There were a lot of higher-ranked linebackers who we had on the board at the start of the year, but I think he's better than them. A lot of these recruiting races are really coming down to the wire. With Brian Rodriguez, I think we've got to go all in on NIL, give him as much as possible. With safety Davis Rothhauser, he's visiting this week. I feel like there's a maybe 2% chance we get him, but it's worth a shot by upping his scholarship to 120. Maybe the visit this week just goes so well. Who knows? I added these 4 guys as well now that we've got some extra spots on the board, and we're going to start scheduling more visits after week 7. So we'll start with tackle Spencer Sly. I'm going to start by upping his scholarship because we're in 2nd place. He, I think, is going to come week 9 versus Penn State. I would imagine we will get him on campus before he makes his decision, so hopefully that visit can lock him in. Since the Penn State game is not for another 2 weeks, I'm going to wait to offer my other visits just to see which other players have narrowed their list down. So we've got Michigan coming to town, the battle of the blue and yellow winged helmets. We beat them last year, but it's a very different conversation with Michigan. Last year, they were kind of disappointing. This year, they've overachieved. They're 5-0, including a win at number 7 Oklahoma. They beat Wisconsin last week. They've already had a bye week. They also have one next week. But these guys are really solid, and they have a very talented team. Definitely one of the better ones that we'll face this year. Their star running back, Shaquille Cornell, obviously left in the portal. We almost got him. He's at SMU. But they have a good replacement. They have a really good offensive line and a solid quarterback with redshirt junior Lamont Carrion. He's an 86 overall who doesn't really have very impressive physicals, but he's super accurate, making up for his lack of speed and his lack of arm strength. We beat Michigan last year. They gave us a tough matchup, even though they were disappointing. Now this year, they're 5-0. They're playing some good football, and they are certainly hoping to have a better matchup this go-around. Only one of these 2 teams will keep their undefeated seasons going, number 23 Michigan and number 3 Delaware. So Michigan starts with it. Fetu Aquara does not get the first down. Great tackle by Jaleel Skaggs. So they're going to punt it, obviously, on 4th and inches. They would be crazy not to. So here lies the Delaware offense. 3rd and 10. JJ will go short. DeZubnar stumbles, has room, nearly turned that into kind of a nice gain, but it's only about 6. We're going to punt it, and here comes Michigan. 3rd down and 9. Carrion looks to throw it. His pass broken away. Great coverage by Leon Irvin, and they're going to have to settle for a somewhat long field goal. George Lauletta set to kick this one from, I would say, roughly 51 yards. It's up, and it is good. Michigan strikes first. They lead it 3-0. So here comes Delaware. We're moving it nicely in the second quarter, looking to take the lead. That one is caught in the end zone for a touchdown. J.J. Bayer to Miles Johnson. And the dynamic duo strikes again. It's 7-3. 3rd down and 8 for the Wolverines. Carry on, looks to throw it. Looking deep down the field. It's broken away. Irvin is able to reach his hand over, get a hand on it. So now Delaware has it back. Bayer is picked off. We had a nice drive in the red zone, but it's intercepted by Joey Smoker. Down the field, Bayer and Ogudosi will not catch him. Touchdown, Michigan. The Wolverines take the lead. We were up by 4. We were moving it down the field. We started with the ball in the second half. We were really in a perfect spot. And now all that good fortune is gone. So it's now 2nd and 11 for Delaware. Bayer under pressure. Johnny Bruce with the sack. And it's 3rd down and 21. Michigan calls time. They want to get the ball back. Bayer to the left side on the run. It is caught. Johnson out of bounds past the 40. Again, that's not J.J. Bayer's game, but he can do it. With about 30 seconds, up the middle for Johnson, trying to outrun the defenders. He gets another big gain, and I think I'm going to use our first timeout. We've still got 2 more. 2nd and 6. Bayer, up the middle. Touchdown, Delaware. Quincy Agudosi with the score. And the Blue Hens are able to fight back off of the turnover. It's 14-10 with 10 seconds in the half. They're going to run a screen. Interestingly, it's actually going to get them a pretty good gain. Out of bounds past the 50-yard line for the running back, Joel Miranda, a true sophomore. And they're going to kick it. This would be a really long one for George Lauletta. We're going to call a timeout. So here's Lauletta from 67 yards out. It's up. It has the distance, but it's wide to the right. We had Johnson ready to return. I assumed it was going to be short, but it was inaccurate. That's a long kick. 14-10. Good effort to try and score by Michigan, but we've got a 4-point lead going into the break, trying to up our record to 7-0. So Delaware will start with the ball here in the 3rd quarter. First play from scrimmage. Bayer rolls out to the right side. Bayer wants it all. Looking for Johnson. Mosses 2 defenders. He breaks both tackles, and he is gone. You are that guy, pal. Trust me, you are that guy. Miles Johnson with an unbelievable touchdown. One of the plays of the series. 84 yards to open up the 3rd. Bayer backs up, launches a thing of beauty. Johnson mosses both guys. They each are draped over him. He breaks away from both. And then after that, I mean, he's got nothing but green grass ahead. So it's 21-10. Michigan now in striking distance, but they're unable to punch it in on 3rd and goal. The running back is short. Dylan Tryon, a true sophomore. They're going to kick the field goal, try to make it a 1-score game. George Lauletta. It's a 20-yard try to make it a 1-score game. It's up, and it is good. And so that will make it 21-13. Delaware gets it back, 3rd and 2. Bayer lobs it up. Looking deep, it's picked off. Joey Smoker. Smoker never even met her. His 2nd interception of the game. Bayer only had thrown 2 interceptions through the first 7 weeks. He's doubled his total this afternoon. Carry on the run. Tipped it incomplete. Good defense by the Blue Hens. Kalik Sandrich got a hand on it, so the turnover proves to really not be that big of a deal. 3rd and 10. Short throw. Johnson does not get the first down. 4th and 2. We are going to keep the offense out there and go for it. I'm going to trust this freshman to give us a big throw here. Well, you can't throw it when you have no time. He loses it on the fumble. We pick up the fumble, but it doesn't really matter because Michigan gets it back anyway. Here comes the Wolverines. Broken tackle. 1st down. Joel Miranda past the 15. Their starting running back, Okwara, got dinged up. We haven't seen much of him today. 3rd and 6. Incomplete. Carry-on takes a huge hit, and they're going to go for it. Aggressive here early in the 4th quarter. 4th down and 6. Carry-on looks to throw it. Looking for the end zone. It's caught. Not in the end zone, but it does go for a 1st down. So they will gladly take it as it's hauled in by Josh Trueblood, the tight end. Miranda in for a score. And Michigan is a 2-point conversion away from tying the game. 21-19, 6:43 to go. Lamont Carrion under center. Hands it off. Tie game. It's Dylan Tryon with the 2. We're knotted up at 21. 5:35 to go. 2nd and 5 to Zubnar with a huge run. Past the 30. Past the 25. Stiff-arming defenders with a gain of 36. He doesn't have the breakaway speed, but he can still give us the splash plays. Less than 4 to go. Zubnar launches his shoulder through the defender. He gets it to the 1. Not quite able to punch it in, but it gives us more time to burn. 3rd and goal. Zubnar is short. 4th and goal at the 1. I know we maybe should kick the field goal, but we're this close. We ran it on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Didn't get it. Running it on 4th, and we don't get it. George Chukwurua is short. Michigan gets it now with a chance to win. Will we regret going for it? As they get the first down with Tryon. So now they're out of safety territory. 3rd and 8, up the middle. Miranda gets the first. We played too much for the pass. I didn't think they were going to run it. 2nd and 10. Carrion scrambles deep down the field. It's caught! Past the 20, the 15, the biggest play of the game. Ben Stephen gets 53 yards. And the Wolverines are in striking distance to take the lead. Short throw, caught, past the 5-yard line for James Bullocks, redshirt freshman. Now 2nd and goal. I'm going to let them score because we're out of timeouts. If they just ran the clock out, hell, they could have knelt the ball twice. They could have kicked the field goal and ended the game. So at least this way, we have time to potentially tie the game with a touchdown. But we're down by 7. We've got no timeouts. Here's Johnson. Good start. Past the 40. Since we don't have any timeouts, we got to keep our eyes on the clock. 9 for 206. 2 touchdowns for Miles Johnson. 3rd and 5. Johnson again. Past the 40. He has had an unbelievable game. 34 seconds now. 2nd down. Bayer up the middle. Johnson. He's got space. Touchdown, Delaware. Miles Johnson. That's a hat trick. His 3rd of the day. And the Blue Hens tie it with 27. You could argue he could have gone out of bounds to help us burn more clock, run more plays. But given on our last drive, we had 4 goal line chances to punch it in, and we couldn't once. We just knew we had to get the points. Here's a nice run for Tryon. Michigan now potentially can get themselves in field goal range. 17 seconds. Look at all this time for Carrion. Somebody's got to get home. What are we doing? Wide open reception for Michigan, and they're in field goal range. Pitiful pass rush. Spencer Kipper with the reception, and now Michigan will run the clock out, and they can win it. 2 seconds left. George Lauletta. It's a 51-yarder. It's not a gimme. It's up, and it is good. Michigan knocks off undefeated Delaware with no time remaining. 31-28. And the Wolverines remain undefeated. An extremely frustrating loss, in my opinion, for Delaware, because I feel like we played a good game overall. I thought we were better than Michigan. Miles Johnson did that. Him and J.J. Bayer were unstoppable, yet we still lost, and we only have ourselves to blame. We shot ourselves in the foot too many times. Missed 4th downs, 2 turnovers. Look at the red zone percentage. It's our own fault. We did it to ourselves. We were sloppy in between the margins. Bayer was great, 21 of 29, 353, 4 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions, but he still had a passer rating above 200. He was that good. Zubnar ran it well. Miles Johnson had the game of his life, which says something because he's had a lot of big ones. The offensive line I thought was suspect, and the defense was really suspect. And this is what we've talked about with them over the last couple of years. When it's a big game or a big moment, they struggle. And this is 2 weeks in a row where we have not been good defensively dating back to Washington. This certainly is going to hurt us in recruiting. It'll hurt us with our visits. A guy like Juan Chavez, who I think we could have really made some ground for, he locks us out because the visit didn't go well because we lost, because we dropped to number 8. We're in a recruiting battle with a couple of these offensive tackles and Brian Rodriguez. Now, we do get some good news, unsurprisingly, but good. Miles Johnson wins the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week, and he also wins the National Offensive Player of the Week. So in terms of recruiting, we still have the lead, obviously, on Brown. With Spencer Sly, he's visiting next week. I think we're okay. Zuniga, I would have liked to have taken the lead with a good visit, but now we're trailing, and he visits Iowa State this week. I know it's a battle and it's close, but I don't see how we would win. For Brian Rodriguez, I think I'm going to keep trying, even though it's unlikely. Chavez, we got to take off. He locks us out. Rolfhauser, I might as well take off because we're giving him the max scholarship. He visits Iowa State this week, and they have the lead. But I'm going to keep going, just in case. I know there's like a 1% shot. We already have Spencer Sly visiting next week for the Penn State game, but we've still got 3 more open slots. Since we're slowing down with some of these tackles, I think a guy like Steven Dragos becomes really important. So he's going to come week 9. I'm going to get Zach Tucker to come in week 9. Very, very good player at guard. And then the last spot I'm going to give, I think I'm going to rock with Peyton Kiesel for week 9 because his battle is for furthest along. Whereas with Jake Kieslak and Nigel Burks, we can have both of them come in week 10 because their races will very much still be in effect. So we've got Minnesota on the road. Last year when we played against the Golden Gophers, I think they were number 3. They were undefeated. We gave them their first loss of the year. Miles Johnson, second place for the Heisman. He's back on the list after making it last year, and then we benched him. This year, we will not bench him for making the Heisman watch. So we now sit at number 8 going into our matchup with the Gophers. They've had a good year. They're coming off a bad loss against Ohio State, but they had a bye week last week. They're rested, they're energized, they're fueled. Their star running back, Enrique Velasco, returns. He's had a really good year, him and Edmond. They do have a new quarterback, though. Their starter last year, Theo Ficken, has been upgraded with Joe Stick, who's a talented 89 overall junior. Minnesota's unranked. They certainly have not been as good as they were last year, but they're still one of the better teams, I would say, in the Big Ten. And we're back on the road, so it's certainly not an easy matchup by any stretch. So we're going to start this game on defense as it's 3rd and 13. Stick drops back to throw it, scrambles to the right side, incomplete. Khalid Sandridge in coverage. And so Delaware gets it on offense. Bayer, he connects with Cheeseman on the comeback. Cheeseman breaks the way, and he is in for his score. Terrell Cheeseman with an early touchdown for the Blue Hens, and it's 7-0. 3rd down and 10 for Minnesota. Stick looks to throw it. Stick under a little pressure. His pass is high and incomplete. Big hit late by Forte. We'll get it back on offense. 3rd down and 9. Bayer gets popped. Caught anyway for the first down. Nice grab by Miles Johnson as we move into the second. 2nd and 4. Bayer, end zone, touchdown! Miles Johnson wins the rep, and Delaware makes it 14-0. Really good start for the Gophers. 2-minute timeout in the first half. 3rd and 6. Stick winds up, looking deep, batted away by Dorian Childress, and Minnesota's going to have to settle for a field goal, looking to get themselves some points. George Colombo from 50 yards out in the right hash to make it 14-3. It is up, and it is good. So Minnesota's on the board, but we still lead by multiple possessions. Looking to add to that lead late in the first half. 2nd and 3, it's a fake. Bayer under pressure, and he gets swallowed up in the pocket. A big loss. 3rd and 14 now. Bayer looks to throw it into traffic. He's got Terrell Cheeseman, who's had a big first half. He gets the first down. Direct snap for DeZubnar. Tries to cut it to the outside, and he's going the wrong way. Minnesota calls a timeout. That was 3rd down as well, so they'll get it back. 53 seconds. No timeouts. It's picked off. Leon Irvin's got it. Irvin on the return a little bit past the 40, and Delaware gets it back. A big takeaway by the senior corner. He was one of the young guys a couple years ago. Now he's the vet, the elder statesman. We're going to run it on 3rd and 10. DeZunbar does not get enough. We're going to take the points, and we're going to run the clock all the way down, given that they don't have any timeouts, and we don't want them to have time with the ball. Brendan Flavors, 54-yarder to make it 17-3. It's up. No good. Wide to the left, and that'll do it for the first half. We missed the field goal, but we still lead this game 14-3. Defense looks good. Bayer and the offensive played pretty well, too. I feel good about this first half, especially coming off a loss last week against Michigan. Into the 3rd quarter now, 2nd and 8. Bayer pitches it, fumbles, picked up by DeZubnar. He's got room to run. Ezekiel DeZubnar with an unlikely touchdown. That is exactly how we drew it up, totally. As it's 21-3. Minnesota has it back, 3rd down and 9. Velasco in motion. Short throw is caught. Not enough for the Gophers, and they will elect upon it. Jamison Bigsby with the reception as we move into the 4th, 21-3. JJ, low throw, caught by Agudosi. That'll make it a 4th and 6. We're going to keep the offense out there. Bayer to throw it. That was not the read, and it's dropped anyway by Miles Johnson. I don't really know what he was thinking there. 3rd and inches, about 5 minutes to play. Minnesota trails by 3 possessions. Enrique Velasco does not get it. Nice tackle by Jaleel Skaggs. 4th down and a yard. Obviously, they'll go for it. Velasco up the middle, gets the 1st down, and I guess Minnesota keeps the game alive for a little bit longer. 2nd and 7, 3.5 minutes to play now. Stick looks to throw it. Under pressure, end zone, touchdown! Minnesota finally makes the play. It's George Edmond, their number 2 running back. He's a pretty good backup, though, 91 overall. Onside kick is recovered by Keon Keener, and we will get it back on offense. A little bit past the 20 here on 1st down. It is a handoff. Dzubnar gets the 1st. Whoop! Hurdles the defender inside the 5. He's known for his power, but apparently he's got some bunnies as well. Play action. Bayer, touchdown! George Terzili back in the lineup. He's missed the last month with an injury. His first game back, he gets a score, 28-10. 3rd and 1. They're going to run the ball. Velasco goes the wrong way. Skaggs and Keegan Smith bring him down. Minnesota's going to go for it, of course. 4th down and 4, nearing the 2-minute timeout here in the 4th. Stick will look to throw it. Under some pressure, winds up, deep down the field, and it is broken away, incomplete. So we would choose some more clock. We would end up putting ourselves in field goal range. Brendan Flavors' kick is good from 48. That'll make it 31-10 as Minnesota gets it back for one more drive. 2nd and inches with 40 seconds. Stick looks to throw it. His pass picked off. Stephen Momo with the interception, and Delaware bounces back in a major way. We take care of business against the Golden Gophers, winning it 31-10, improving our record to 7-1. Defense had one of their better games. Offense was pretty good. I would say we were A- on both sides of the ball. We weren't dominant, but we were really solid overall. I do wish we got a little bit more from the run game, but Bayer was good. 3 touchdowns, didn't make mistakes, had some misses. Dzubnar had the score. He was okay. Johnson with a nice game. Cheeseman with a nice game. Terzili with a touchdown. Offensive line was a little spotty, and then the defense, I think, overall played pretty well. A couple sacks, a couple picks, only allowed 10 points. So let's simulate the week. We ended up with a surprise recruiting-wise. So offensive tackle Spencer Sly has hard committed. I didn't see this coming at all. We were in a battle with Kentucky. I don't even think we were winning. I figured maybe it would be a verbal because he was supposed to visit this week. I guess he doesn't really need to now as we move up to number 7. Davis Rothhauser is in a recruiting... Wow, that's actually really close. I didn't think it would be so close for him. Peyton Kiesel verbally commits to Oregon State. Brian Rodriguez hard commits to A&M. That's an unfortunate one. But I didn't think Spencer Sly would commit right now, and I didn't think we'd be this close for Rothhauser. We've got Sly visiting, Kiesel visiting, Dragos is coming at tackle. I'm going to up his scholarship to try to get more interest because Kentucky's up by a decent bit. And then Zach Tucker, I think we're in a good spot for. Nigel Burks is visiting Week 10, but we've still got some open slots. I'm going to have running back Conrad Lichtensteiger visit for Week 10. I hope we get him just so I can say his name. Wide receiver Jake Kieselak will come in Week 10 as well. Boise State has the lead for him currently. And then I think Carlos Sermons is going to come. I'm actually going to have him come Week 11 versus Indiana. And then DeMarcus Riggs will take the last spot for the Week 10 game against FCS. So Penn State's coming to town here in Week 9. The Nittany Lions are 4-4. They're not playing very well in conference with a record of just 1-3. They've lost 4 of their last 5, including 3 games in a row, to Purdue, Ohio State, and Wisconsin. So they're looking to bounce back, get a win. They're a solid team, though, 87 overall, and they've got some good players on both sides of the ball. At quarterback, they've got one of the best in the Big Ten. Redshirt junior Callum Thuce is an 89 overall, and I think he is a really good player. 84 speed, really accurate, doesn't really turn the ball over, good awareness, and he can run a little bit. So I think we're in for a challenge in terms of the quarterback matchup. We're back at home. We have 3 more home games, and they're all in a row. Week 9 versus Penn State, Week 10 versus FCS, and then Week 11 versus Indiana. That'll prove to be a very big game. The Hoosiers, like us, I believe only have 1 loss. So let's get this show on the road. The Nittany Lions start on offense. Thuce hands it off on 3rd and 2. Penn State is going backwards. Raekwon Cook is wrapped up by Derek Schott. Blue Hens on offense. Here's J.J. Bayer. His deep ball is tipped and intercepted. An unfortunate takeaway. That's the safety, Heath DeLuca with the interception, and here comes Penn State. Thues on 3rd and 7, scrambles to the right, under pressure, and he is wrapped up. So we are able to get the stop. The turnover proves to, I guess, not really be that big of a deal. We get it back on offense. Here's Bayer, deep ball. It's caught! It's hauled in by Zganina. Really nice play by the redshirt sophomore. Stefan Zganina gets about 46. Miles Johnson gets nothing on the RPO. And we've got an interesting 4th down decision to start the second quarter. We're going to keep the offense and go for it. Bayer hands it off. Antonio Eagles with the 1st down, and a good run for the redshirt sophomore as he gets it to about the 10. 1st down for Delaware. Play action. Bayer, end zone, touchdown! Delaware scores first. It's 7-0. Stefan Zganina makes the play, and here returns Penn State. 3rd down and 5. They're having a nice drive in the red zone. Thues hit as he throws, and he's wrapped up by Jaleel Skaggs, who's proven to be our best pass rusher, I think, this year. So Penn State's going to go for the field goal on 4th and 10. Robert Wigman, the redshirt senior, nearly blocked. But it is good from around 40, and so it's 7-3. Bayer, play action, looks to throw it. Looking down the field, he's got Johnson! Touchdown, Delaware! Miles Johnson, the Heisman contending receiver with the score. 13-3, the PAT, doink, no good for Brendan Flavors, and the lead stays at 10. Penn State gets it back, looking to make it a 1-score game, and a field goal would bring the lead down to 7 now. That's a big difference compared to 8. Thues, broken away. Good coverage by Jaleel Skaggs, who's been all over the field today. 3rd and 2 for Delaware, 25 seconds. Bayer looks to throw it into traffic. It's caught. 1st down. J.J. Bayer to Terrell Cheeseman. We've got a chance to add to the lead before half. Bayer under pressure, goes short. Terzili, he is able to get a few. We're going to call a timeout. I think we're going to run one more play, and then if we don't get it, maybe go for the field goal. Bayer looks for the end zone. Intercepted! A costly turnover to end the half. Cole Kerr picks it off, and we lose out on an opportunity to add to the lead. It's 13-3. We are up by 10. We're playing well, but J.J. Bayer has been picked off twice in this game. For a guy who hasn't turned the ball over a lot this year, it's not what you want to see. We do start on offense. 2nd down. Bayer winds up. Picked again. His 3rd of the game. Dante Dalton's got it for Penn State a little bit past the 20. This is very unlike J.J. He only had 4 interceptions all year coming into the game. Thues on 3rd and 6. That one is caught. 1st and more. Past the 40. A really nice play after the catch. It's a gain of 26 for DJ Vereen. On 1st down, Thues scrambles to the left side. He's got room to run. Touchdown, Penn State. The lead is within 3. So the Nittany Lions are really going to make this a game. As we get it back on offense, 3rd down and 2. Looking to throw it is Bayer up the middle. Broken away. And Penn State gets it back. They are absolutely in this thing. Only down by 3. They've got the momentum, forcing turnovers with a touchdown drive on offense. Play action. Thues looking down the field. Incomplete. I thought he was in bounds, to be honest, and Penn State agrees. They are going to challenge Clayton Pepper. Did he get a foot in bounds? It looks to me like he certainly did. This play will be reversed. A huge 1st down for Penn State, and they've got all the momentum. A huge 3rd quarter as it's 3rd down to start the 4th. Thues looks to throw it, scrambles, and he gets maybe a yard or 2. So the defense gets the stop, and at the very least, we won't be trailing. Robert Wigman on to kick the field goal, 23-24 yards out. It is up, and it is good until we're knotted up at 13. We've moved the ball better than Penn State has, but we've got to be cautious. This feels very similar to the game script against Michigan, where we're clearly the better team, but the turnovers and the shooting ourselves in the foot costs us. But we get a big 1st down with Cheeseman, and then on 2nd down, it's Quincy Agudosi with the touchdown. We needed that score really badly. We need to learn from our mistakes from the Michigan game, and seeing what happened there, it was a very good drive to put ourselves back ahead, but now here comes Penn State. Clayton Pepper gets it near the 50. Minute 15 to go, 3rd down and 5. Thues looks to throw it. Looking deep, wide open! Inside the 10, a huge reception for B.J. Wells. The tight end gets 30. 40 seconds, 2nd and goal. They're going to run the ball. They're getting closer, but not quite. Raekwon Cook gets a few. 3rd and goal, 36 seconds. No more timeouts. Thues, end zone, touchdown, tie game. Raekwon Cook with the score. We're knotted up at 20. Here's Delaware. Bayer picked off! Oh my goodness! Penn State! Pick 6! The Nittany Lions take the lead! It's Heath DeLuca's second pick of the game. Bayer, who had 4 interceptions all year, has been picked off 4 times this afternoon. And we're losing now. Look at the clock. There's 3 seconds. Go down. Okay, good. He slides with 1. And now we've got to hurl up a Hail Mary. What an ending. We were up by a touchdown 30 seconds ago. And now we're down by 1. Bayer, who's thrown 4 picks, is going to look to heave it up. There's a flag on the play. It is incomplete. A lot of contact. I think this is going to be on the defense. Pass interference against Penn State. We'll move up, and we'll get one more shot. Now from the opposing 46. So Bayer, I think, should certainly get it to the end zone. It's just a matter of connecting. This is it. Clock at 0-0. Bayer looking deep. It's around the end zone. Tipped. Incomplete. I think Johnson could have made a play if he lunged over. But Penn State comes into Newark and upsets Delaware. The Blue Hens have lost 2 of their last 3, and our playoff spot is in jeopardy. This game is so similar to the Michigan one. I said it a few minutes ago. It feels like the exact same game script. We were the better team. We should have won. But the turnovers and the inefficiency in the red zone, I wouldn't even say Penn State won. I would say we lost. Bayer was awesome other than the interceptions, but you can't throw 4 picks. That just cannot happen. Johnson with a big game. Zganina with a big game. Defensively, a lot of splash plays. Skaggs was good. But when the lights were the brightest, the defense was not clutch. They allowed the game-tying touchdown. I cannot blame them, though, for Penn State taking the lead. Davis Rothhauser hard commits. I was not expecting that. 2 weeks ago, I thought there was a 1% chance. I kept him on the board just for the hell of it. But I guess he's coming. I am very pleasantly surprised. 18. Wow, we moved down. Okay, so with the first week of the playoff bracket, we're not in the playoff. And we're not really all that close either. We've got a bunch of guys visiting this week for the FCS game. How do we go about recruiting? Now that a lot of these races are really finishing up, we're starting to build our class. The guys who visited last week, I think Peyton Kiesel was the biggest fumble because I really think we could have done some damage, but with us losing to Penn State, I don't think it's likely, but I'm going to keep him on for now. Greg Brown has been verbally committed for the last month, and he visits App State today. I'm just going to put 40 on. I want to get this done. I don't want to risk it. We only have 1 prospect ready for a visit, and it's a competitive visit, but we might as well have edge rusher Jeremy Russ come for the Indiana game in Week 11. Otherwise, I'm going to up the scholarship for Peyton Kiesel. Maybe that'll be enough to switch him. I'm going to up the scholarship for Jake Kieselak. Boise State's got a big lead. Drago's had a solid visit, but since we lost, I think we need to up the scholarship. Juan Turner, Nigel Burks. Burks, we're going to go all in terms of his scholarship. It's fun playing around with all this NIL. We did not get this luxury early in the series. 100 NIL really is nothing. We can just throw it around willy-nilly on these prospects as we wish. So we're number 18, and basically the situation is we've probably got to win out if we want to make the playoff. Indiana's the big one next week. We have a get-right game today against FCS Northwest. We've lost 2 of 3. We're playing against a horrible team. We should win by 100. I think the conference championship realistically is out of reach, so if we want to make the playoff, it has to be as an at-large. I think if we win out at 10-2 in the Big Ten, with a win against Indiana added in there, I would think that would be enough to get in. I think if we lose any of the last 3, we're probably done. So it's pretty simple. If we win out, we're probably going to get in. If we lose a game, probably not. We're a 99. They're a 49. I mean, we should seriously win this game by 1,000. There's no excuse not to utterly dominate these guys. The difference between us and them is greater than the difference from these guys to a 0 overall team. What does a 0 overall team even look like? A bunch of babies? A bunch of dead people? So FCS Northwest, the Kodiaks, start with the ball. These guys don't even have names, but they're going to try to get a nice first down here. They don't originally, but that's a face mask on Leon Irvin. And for a team that lost last week because of our sloppiness, we already look a little sloppy. And FCS Northwest is actually kind of moving the ball. 2nd and goal from around the 5. Quarterback on the run. Touchdown! FCS Northwest has the lead. Stop the count. Are you kidding me? We're losing to these guys? We're 50 rating points higher, and that's not an exaggeration. Bayer on the run. Great throw for Miles Johnson. He gets the first down. 3rd and 7 now. Bayer to throw it. He's going to scramble. He's got his man. It's Johnson. He's got room to run. These guys aren't catching him. If Big Ten defenders can't run with Miles Johnson, I don't think FCS defenders can. Delaware ties it at 7 apiece. Good start for the offense. Here returns FCS Northwest. Quarterback under pressure, looks to throw it. Intercepted. Leon Irvin's got it for Delaware, and he is off to the races. A pick six, and the Blue Hens will quickly take the lead. We were down 7-0 2 plays ago. Now it's 14-7. This is much more like it. Here returns FCS Northwest. The true freshman safety, Terrell Waring, on the blitz, gets the sack, and the Kodiak drive would stall out. Here's Delaware, 3rd and long. Bayer under pressure, tries to get something out of nothing, and he cannot. He thinks he can outrun these guys, but no, he cannot. He's just really slow. FCS Northwest on 3rd down. We repay the favor with a sack of our own. We'll get it back with 2:25 to go. 3rd down and 5. Bayer scrambles with it on the run. It is incomplete. 4th down and 5. We're going to go for it. I don't like that we're only up by 7 with 2 minutes left in the first half. Bayer into traffic. It's caught. 1st down past the 10. Terrell Cheeseman makes the play. 1st and goal. DeZubnar. Touchdown Delaware. Good response by the offense. We lead it by 2 scores as FCS Northwest returns. Minute and a half to go, 3rd and 10. Quarterback runs around. He is wrapped up. Nowhere to go. Casey Cisco brings him down. He's had a nice game as Delaware gets it back. 2nd down. Bayer under pressure. Bayer scrambles like a magician. Bayer's got room to run, and he'll take it. He is exhausted. J.J. Bayer out of bounds at the 35. He is unbelievably slow. 1st down now for Delaware. Bayer looks to throw it. He'll stay in the pocket this time for now. Now he'll scramble. Now he'll run. Look at Bayer. Past the 10. Past the 5. I didn't know he could run like this. J.J. Bayer with a huge gain, capped off by a touchdown on the RPO to George Terzili. And it's 28-7. Okay, now we're starting to play more like we should. 3rd down and 7. They are just going to run the ball. Nowhere to go. Nice tackle. And we will get it back on the punt. With Miles Johnson back there, any punt return can be a big one. Johnson had a punt return score in week 1 of last season against JMU. He's got room to the outside. Cuts in, and he's wrapped up past the 40. That actually puts us in field goal range. And, well, we might as well. There's only 5 seconds. 57-yarder for Brendan Flavors. It's up, and it is good. The punt return directly gives us 3 points at the end of the half. Started off a little sloppy, but now we're up 31-7. Now we're playing like we should be. As we move into the second half, we do get to start off with the ball, so we'll see if we can potentially add to this lead. The offense has started to catch a little fire as on 3rd and 7. Bayer looks to throw it, scrambles on the run, broken away, incomplete. And FCS Northwest will force a punt on the opening drive. 3rd down and 2 for the Kodiaks. They're going to try to run it. Not a chance. Keegan Smith. So we're experimenting with the defense. Keegan Smith has mostly played off the edge this year. I'm giving him more reps at linebacker, and I'm giving Jaleel Skaggs more reps on the edge. Here's DeZubnar with a huge run to about the 15-yard line. That might be his longest of the year. But as I was saying, I think those switches on defense allow us to complement Smith and Skaggs' skill sets better as we do get the touchdown with Keon Keener. Into the 4th, all the backups are in as the 3rd down pass is fumbled. Pick up the ball! Okay, good. That was a lot harder than it needed to be. Jake Simonson, the redshirt freshman, with the recovery. Eric Dickens finds Stefan Zgodnina with the score. And we end up winning this game 45-7. They had us spooked in the first half of the first quarter when it was 7-0, but then we started to look more like ourselves. We get the job done. That's our get-right game. Hopefully we got right going into our biggest matchup of the year against Indiana, which will probably determine whether or not we get into the playoff. Started this one a little slow, but then we obviously got it together. Bayer was solid. He really didn't throw it that much because we had the lead. He didn't play in the 4th. Dickens was able to sling it quite a bit. He had a good game. DeZubnar, 10 for 102 and a score. He continues to impress. Balanced attack on the ground, and it was balanced through the air. Another 100-yard showing and another touchdown for Miles Johnson. Defensively, the first drive was gross, but otherwise, we did what we needed to. So with 2 games to go in the regular season, we're now 8-2. Hopefully we will move up a little bit in the rankings going into the matchup against Indiana in Week 11. We finally land the hard commitment from Greg Brown. I don't know why it took so long, but I'm happy we got him. I think he's probably the best player we've landed so far this year. But we have a lot of guys who lock us out. Uh-oh, this could be trouble. Now, the good news is we move up to number 14. So with a win against Indiana, I would imagine that would put us into the top 12, allowing us to control our own fate. So Carlos Sermons was supposed to visit, but he locks us out. So I guess he's not visiting anymore. Slade Clemens walks us out. Nigel Burns is going to Oklahoma. And Peyton Kiesel is officially going to Oregon State. So I'm going to take a bunch of guys off. Not even just the guys who locked us out, but other players who I don't think we have a chance on. Jeremy Russ, I think it's slim. But if we give him a heck of a scholarship and have a great visit with Indiana, you never know. Maybe it works, especially because we don't have the competitive visit with him anymore. Because the edge rusher, Carlos Sermons, we took off the board. We've got a couple more bye weeks. I'm going to schedule cornerback Kion Tinney and tackle Alex Tunj to visit in Week 12. And then I added a bunch of guys to the board to add some more depth. We're now at 28 players. So here's the big one. Number 14, Delaware at 8-2. Number 6, Indiana at 7-1. A lot of these teams have had 1 or 2 byes already. We haven't had any. Indiana already has had both. They're undefeated in conference play. Right now, they're slated to make the conference title. There's 5 teams with 1 loss or less. Given that we only have 2 games left in the Big Ten, I find it very unlikely for us to make the conference title. We would need a lot to go our way, and that starts with beating Indiana. Their only loss at home against Notre Dame. They've got some really good wins. I mean, these guys are legit. They beat Ole Miss. They beat Ohio State on the road. They beat Wisconsin. They have some signature wins and a very impressive resume, and this would be another one that they can add. They've got a very good offensive line, really good offense, period. Jamison Sly is a very good number 1 receiver. B.J. Fallen's a great running back. And at quarterback, it's Dante Flint. You may recognize this name. We went after him in the portal, I think it was 2 seasons ago. But I could tell Indiana really wanted him, and I did not want to compete with Indiana to get him because we were always going to land him to be a backup. Well, now we're playing against him, and we'll see if we regret not going after Dante Flint a little bit harder. This doesn't feel like last year where our team was very inconsistent and obviously not good enough to make the playoff, and when we lost at the end of the year to Memphis, it wasn't that big of a surprise. This team is really good and arguably should be undefeated, if not for fumbling the bag against Michigan and Penn State, and I'm hoping J.J. Bayer and the youngsters... Okay, maybe not. It's picked off in the end zone by Sidney Dawsey, and a very promising opening drive ends with a takeaway. Bayer has had most of his turnovers in those 2 games. 6 of his 8 interceptions prior to this week were against Michigan and Penn State, as that one is thrown away. We outplayed both of those teams, but we've got to finish drives, keep the ball, and let this guy get to work. Miles Johnson, touchdown, Delaware! And the Blue Hens strike first. A really nice drive that we are able to finish off. Finishing these drives with touchdowns, scoring in the red zone is going to be so key for us. As Flint's throw is caught short, but only a gain of a few. And they're going to punt the ball away, so we'll get it back. We're moving it nicely again. 3rd and 12. Bayer up the middle. It's caught. First down for the Blue Hens as Cheeseman's able to break some tackles. And DeZunbar is in for a score. Delaware adds to the lead. It's 14-0. This is a really good start. But we led in the Michigan game, we led in the Penn State game, and we blew both of them. We need to learn from those 2 matchups. 3rd and 4, nowhere to go for the running back, B.J. Fallen, who's fallen backwards. We'll get it back with a 3rd and 2. Incomplete. J.J. Bayer misses high. And Indiana gets a 2-for-1. Even though they haven't scored yet, they get the ball now, and they get it to start the second half. Flint, play action. Up the seam, it's caught. Near the 50-yard line, pass to the 45, again a 34th of the true sophomore, Dwayne Marshall. Indiana now all of a sudden is in business with 40 seconds left. Here's Flint. That one is caught. Not going to get them much. And they're going to run this clock down because they only have the 1 timeout, and they're not going to use it for whatever reason. They're down to 12 seconds. 2nd and 5, Flint. Risky throw, should not have thrown it. It's incomplete, down to 8 seconds, 3rd and 5. They get the first down, and you got to think they're just going to kick the field goal here. It really feels like Indiana messed up the timing by not using their last timeout earlier and instead burning 25 seconds. It's a 38-yarder for the true freshman, Trent Block. His kick is good. Overall, a very strong first half for Delaware. Even with the interception in the end zone, we're still up by 11. We've been the better team. But we were the better team early against Michigan and against Penn State. And even going back to last year, the Memphis game, which was at a very similar point in the year when we had 2 losses and needed to win. I'm curious to see if this team can hold on to this lead and find a way to win. And that's a good start. Keegan Smith brings down Flint for a loss of yardage, and the true freshman forces a punt. Miles Johnson will return it for Delaware as he gets it just behind the 30. Here's Johnson, finds a hole. Johnson makes a man miss. Johnson gets a block. Miles Johnson, it's a foot race, and you know he's taking it. Touchdown, Heisman pose in the end zone. A Heisman moment for Miles Johnson. What a season it has been for this kid. His biggest play of the year puts us up by 3 scores in our biggest game of the year. His first punt return touchdown of the season, and it's 21-3. There's no way we blow this game, right? We cannot possibly. Here is Flint. Lobs it down the field. It is broken away, incomplete. And Delaware gets another stop. They'll have to punt it once more. I'm surprised they didn't punt it out of bounds. Miles Johnson on the return from the 10. Johnson gets blocks. Has more room. One man to beat. It's the punter. Spins away. Oh, I thought he was going to break off another one. He gets it to about the 40. 3rd down and 9. Bayer looks to throw it on the wheel route. Wide open is Antonio Eagles. Touchdown, Delaware. And the Blue Hens are dominating in the biggest game of the year. Look away, Falcons fans. It's 28-3. Let's move into the 4th quarter now. We cannot possibly lose this game at this point. Flint on 3rd down into traffic. Incomplete. They're going to have to go for it now. Indiana's had such a good year, such a great resume, and they are just getting smacked right now. They will get the first down. Marshall hit hard by Casey Sisko. Little over 7 to go. Here's Flint. End zone. Touchdown. Indiana finally connects. It's Nicholas Golden, the senior tight end, in for a score. So now we're chewing some clock. Under 4 minutes to go. 3rd and 2. Chukwurua is short. We're going to go for it on 4th down and 1. Try to put our foot down. Here is Bayer. Goes short. Eagles cannot get the first. And Indiana gets it back. They trail by 18 points on 2nd down. Flint looks to throw it. That one is picked off. And that should be the dagger. Terrell Waring, the true freshman, his first career pick. And Delaware wins the biggest game, not just of the year, but one of the biggest games of this series. 28-10 against number 6 Indiana. That'll certainly move us into the top 12 with just one more week to go. Such a big win for this program. It felt very similar in the first half to the Michigan and the Penn State games. We were the better team, but we had the red zone turnover and weren't finishing all of our drives. But we learned from those games. We learned from our mistakes, and we did not let Indiana get themselves in it. Other than the pick, J.J. Bayer had another great showing. DeZubnar ran it well, and obviously Miles Johnson had another Heisman-esque performance. 100 yards and a receiving touchdown, along with a punt return score, and he nearly had 2. Miles Johnson certainly has a very compelling case for what he's done for our offense this year to, win the Heisman Trophy. And I really think we have put ourselves in an ideal spot, because while most teams still have 2, 3 more games, some have 4, we only have 1. Like, SMU's 8-0. They have 4 games left. We only have to play 1. We've got 2 bye weeks towards the end of the year. Let's get some good news recruiting-wise. Hard commit for guard Juan Turner. He's a gem. He's a really good player. I think if Arkansas went after him a little bit faster, they could have gotten him. But we were able to overpower the Razorbacks. We do lose on the tackle. Stephon Dragos, he's going to Kentucky. And there you go. We're number 11. So that means we will be in the top 12. Between the 2 offensive linemen here, I think Turner's the one I would have preferred, so I can live with only getting him. A lot of guys are narrowing their lists down. A couple players visiting during the bye week, and a recruiting battle for edge rusher Jeremy Russ, as Miles Johnson, of course, wins the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week. So let's discuss this recruiting battle with Russ, because going into last week, it really felt like a long shot. We had the visit with him. We're now in the mix. It still feels like a long shot, though. We're giving him the max scholarship. He visits Michigan in 2 weeks, but I am going to keep trying. I'm also going to up the scholarships on a lot of these other guys, like Lichtensteiger, who we are currently in 2nd place for. Turner, I'm going to give some points to. I want to get his recruitment over with and done. I don't want Indiana to have any chance of catching up. Tilly and Tunge are both visiting this week during the bye. I'm going to give Tunge some more points because Kentucky does have the lead. We only have one player currently ready for a visit. That's wide receiver Jaleel Woods. He's going to come week 14 during our second bye week. Right now, we're in second place behind Notre Dame. Bunch of teams offered Cam Lincolnbach scholarships. Last week, it was nobody. Now it's everyone. So we're going to take him off. But otherwise, I do feel like we can absolutely put ourselves in the mix for a lot of these players who I recently put on the board. So I think our team is in an unbelievably good spot right now because there's 3 weeks left in the regular season. Most teams have either 2 or 3 games left. We only have 1, and we're still in the playoff at number 11. Now, it would not be a favorable draw with Ohio State and Oklahoma, but I think having both of these bye weeks at the end of the year really helps us because in this game, you don't move down the rankings during a bye week. You'll move up, though. It's basically as if your team wins. You will move up with the other programs next to you who just won. Miles Johnson is in first for the Heisman. Now, again, we've played more games than everyone, so I don't want to get my hopes up because while these guys have played 9 or 10 games, Miles has played 11, and we probably will not get a conference championship appearance. But still exciting that we have first place for the Heisman Trophy this late into the year. We land a verbal commitment from offensive guard Zach Tucker. He's practically a 5-star, one of the highest ranked 4s in the entire class, and by far the best player who we've landed so far. That's a big one. Even though it's just a verbal, that is a huge get for us. We do lose the battle for Jeremy Russ, so despite the good... See, we're number 9. I told you we were going to move up. But we do lose the battle for Jeremy Russ. He's going to Michigan. I kind of figured. Conrad Lichtensteiger, it's a battle with us in Iowa State. I think we've made up quite a bit of ground on him. I actually like our chances. We're in first place for Tilly. We had a really good visit with him during the bye week. With Tucker, I really am not threatened by Indiana or BYU. I think I'm going to take my points off for now. For Lichtensteiger, it was not anywhere near this close last week. I think we have more influence than Iowa State does. I think we have a good shot to get him. With Kion Tilly, we have the lead, but it's not by much. And he visits Arizona State this week. I'm going to up his scholarship to try to seal the deal and land a really talented JUCO sophomore corner. With Alex Tunge, I'm going to do the same. We are making up some ground with Kentucky, but not enough unless we give him a lot more money. Jaleel Woods, we're in second place for kind of comfortably. I'm going to up his number as well, and I'm going to do the same for Byron York. NIL is the best way to try to push ourselves above some of these other programs, forcing ourselves into their wallets. So now we're currently the 9 seed. We'd play SMU in the first round. Now the question, I think, really becomes, can we get a home game in the first round? It's very unlikely we make the conference title. We would need Nebraska, Ohio State, and Indiana to all lose their final games of the year. I feel like that's not overly likely. Johnson's still in first place, though, for the Heisman, as we discuss our matchup against Northwestern. It's unlikely we will make the conference title. We don't really control our own fate in terms of getting a home playoff game, but we do control our own fate in terms of getting a spot. Knowing that we're not playing in the conference title most likely, this is our last game before the playoff. Why are their 3 best players right tackles? They all play, so give them credit. Lee Banks Redshirt Jr. is the quarterback. But this really is a win and in, lose and out game. Because if we win, it appears our season will be over. We'll be 10-2, and we will certainly be in the top 12. I think the question will be seeding and if we can get a home playoff game in the first round. If we lose, then it's over. We have no shot. If we lose to unranked Northwestern, they're no slouch. They're 6-4. We get to play in their new stadium. This isn't an easy game per se, and we definitely cannot treat it like one. I do think the fact that we're coming off a bye week certainly does bode well for us, though. 3rd and 17. Bayer swatted away, and Delaware will have to punt it. The stakes are very high for this true freshman quarterback. If we win, we're going to be a playoff team. Here on 3rd down, under pressure, Banks is sacked. Couple of guys in the backfield, including Deion Sermons, the Tennessee transfer. 3rd down and 10 for the Blue Hens. Bayer up the middle. It's Miles Johnson, gets a block. 1st down, Johnson. Past the 40, past the 30. A very big gain for the Heisman frontrunner who gets 45. And DeZubnar is able to score on the final play of the first quarter. So Delaware punches it in, makes it 7-0. Now here is the Northwestern offense. 2nd down and 9. Play fake. Banks. Deep down. Oh, my God! Fairs. What a catch! 54 yards for Jimmy Mollett with one hand as he's still running. Northwestern will take advantage. They score the touchdown. Silas Traynor and this game is tied at 7. Okay, so the Wildcats are going to make it interesting. They want to spoil the party. Here's Miles Johnson on the out route, turns on the Jets. Given that we're most likely not going to make the conference title, this is his last chance to show he deserves to win the Heisman, as it's Cheeseman breaks a tackle into the end zone. Terrell Cheeseman with the score, and our offense is looking good after a sloppy first drive. Couple of scores over our last 2 possessions. Miles Johnson's playing really well. 3rd and 5, Lee Banks wide open is Mollett, who's had a huge game. 5 catches, 110 yards already. This guy is insane. 3rd and 1, Banks has time. End zone, touchdown! Northwestern ties the game. Shakir Montague knots this one up at 14. We've got 20 seconds and 2 timeouts. Bayer on the run. What a catch! That's Quincy Agudosi with the snag, and we're going to use our second timeout. Bayer with about 10 seconds, trying to get ourselves in field goal range as he scrambles on the run. Not going to get as much. We're going to dive down with 5. I would say the bigger problem not gaining too much yardage there is that we wasted so much time and our last timeout. 3rd down and 5. Bayer, quick throw. Johnson out of bounds with 1. That's a perfect play because it absolutely gets us in field goal range. 52-yarder. Flavors, it's good for the lead. 17-14 going into the break. The offense looks really good. The defense has been a little suspect. In the biggest games of the year, the defense often comes up short. They didn't last week against Indiana. They were great, but they haven't looked so good today. Northwestern, who starts with the ball in the 3rd quarter, is absolutely in this game. We cannot let ourselves get too comfortable. Jimmy Mollett was the star of the show in the first half. Nice start to the second half. He gets it past the 35. We've got to find a way to cover him because he has been unbelievably good. 3rd down and 7. Banks looks to throw it as an open man. Why doesn't he get rid of it? Instead, he goes deep, and it's nearly intercepted. They had an easy first down there. And now Delaware's got it, and we're moving it well. 3rd and inches. Bayer looks to throw it, looking deep. It is broken away. Trying to lob it up for Terrell Cheeseman. We're going to go for it on 4th down and inches. Bayer sets up an audible here as he looks to throw it. Bayer wants it all for Miles Johnson. It's just overthrown. That was a good read. He was open. But the pass is off the mark. It remains a 3-point game. 2nd down. Banks sacked on the play. A couple of guys were there, including Noah Hale and Ethan McLeese. A couple of senior defensive linemen. 3rd and long. Banks. He looks deep, and it is caught. Not quite a first, but they are in range to go for it. This feels like the biggest play maybe in the history of the program. 4th down and inches. A stop would be gigantic, and they get the first. Clayton Cush gets a couple. Let's move into the 4th. We're only up by 3 in a game that determines if we make the playoff. If we lose, it's over. Banks on 3rd and 8, broken away. Good stop. I don't think they're going to go for it again. So we'll get it back on offense. About 6 to go. Bayer on 3rd down. Hit as he throws. Cheese does not get the first. Northwestern gets another stop. Our offense has been quiet in the second half. Here returns the Wildcats. Banks on 1st down. Has time. A lot of time. Banks. Picked off! Khalid Sadridge! First career interception as a Blue Hen! Goes for a pick 6! And Delaware leads by 2 touchdowns. That's the biggest play of the series so far. It puts us up by 10 here in the 4th quarter. Banks on 3rd down. Slides. He doesn't get it. Do you go for it down by 10? Sub 5 minutes? It looks like they will. 4th down and about 9 for Northwestern. A stop puts us in a really good spot to win this game and punch our ticket in the playoff. Banks looks to throw it. Under pressure, goes short. Not a chance. Leon Irvin with a big hit. Let's burn some clock. Let's score again, and let's seal the deal. Bayer on 3rd and 12. He's got Johnson. Wiggles ahead, and he's in the end zone. Miles Johnson scores once more. Possibly his last hurrah for the Heisman. 31-14. Delaware now leads comfortably. 4th and 10. Here's Banks. Hoists it up, and it is caught. I mean, seriously, this guy Jimmy Mollett is unguardable. He's got to be at least at 170 yards. Banks, back of the end zone, touchdown. 2nd of the game for Shakir Montague. They will now go for the onside as it is recovered by Delaware. J.D. Frisch has it for the Blue Hens. That was a heck of a voice crack, my goodness. 3rd and 16, 1st down ends it. You know who we want to give the ball to. Johnson gets a block, and Johnson calls game. Wrapped up near the 20, and that will do it. They had us shook for the first 3 quarters. I'm not going to lie. Credit to Northwestern for really making this game interesting and keeping us on our toes. But Delaware holds on. I think it was the pick 6 early in the 4th by Khalid Sandridge that put us up by 2 scores and put us in control of this game. We win at 31-21. We finished the regular season with a record of 10-2. It's unlikely we will play in the conference title, and even if we do, I don't really see a scenario where we get kicked out of the playoff, given that we're number 9. We'll probably move up some more because we've got 2 weeks off. We've got this week, and then we have our bye week. So we have a really good chance to up our ranking, and I think there's a very good shot we will be playing a first-round playoff game at home. I'd be surprised at this point if we don't. Solid win. Certainly was not our best game, especially on defense, but we did what we needed to, and we made the big plays when we had to. J.J. Bayer, another good showing in his biggest game of the year. He certainly met the mark, and he didn't turn the ball over. Miles Johnson, 9 for $163 and a score. The defense was a bit iffy. That kid Maulette had 7 catches for 172 yards. But the pick 6 by Khalid Sandridge, man, that is one of the big plays in the 6 years of this series. Maybe the biggest, if we're being completely honest. So let's simulate into week 14. We get to enjoy a bye week to end the regular season, which, as I said earlier, gets us a nice shot to move up in the rankings if teams ahead of us lose. We land a verbal commitment from offensive tackle DeMarcus Riggs. We land a hard commit for linebacker Conrad Lichtensteiger. I knew we had a good chance to beat Iowa State in that battle. I felt very confident we'd continue to give him points. As we're now number 6, we move up 3 spots. There might be an outside shot we don't even play in the first round. Recruiting battle for Kion Tilley. The fact that we had the lead is encouraging to me because he visited Arizona State last week, so I like our chances there. I think we've really put ourselves, though, in a great spot going into the last week of the year because most teams still have to play, but we don't. It's unlikely we make the conference title. It would require both Nebraska and Indiana to lose, and then we would need a bunch of tiebreakers to go our way. Nebraska plays Iowa, Indiana plays Purdue, but it might not be a bad thing that we're not playing in the conference title. We might get an ungodly amount of weeks off because we don't have to play the final week of the regular season. We don't have to play in the conference title week, most likely. And I'm not sure we're going to have to even play in the first round of the playoffs. Some of those teams in the top 5 could easily lose, allowing us to jump into the top 4. We might have more days off than anybody by far in the playoff, but it could also be a curse. One game within a 2-month stretch could make us very rusty going into a theoretical second-round playoff game against, let's say, the 5 seed, a team like Texas, a team like USC, and that could prove to be trouble. So let's discuss recruiting. It's certainly dying down here down the stretch. I think we're sitting pretty for Riggs. I don't need to keep giving him points. I might give some to Turner, though. Indiana put their scholarship back on. I don't really want to take any chances, even if it's just 10. With Kion Tilley, I think we're in a good spot. We have a great pitch. We have a very big scholarship. I do think we're going to get him. With Tony, I'm not as confident. Kentucky still has their lead. I think we've bridged the gap a little bit, so I'm going to continue to put points into him. Kentucky is the upper hand, but I think we still very much have a shot in his race. For Byron York, it's very close. I think we're putting a little more influence than Clemson. Jaleel Woods, we definitely have more influence than Notre Dame, and he visits this week, so I'm hoping we can lock him down, or at least put him in first place going into the top 3. We have a solid enough pitch with him, so hopefully we can put ourselves ahead of Notre Dame and be in a spot to land him going into the offseason. So let's simulate through the final week of the regular season. I'm curious how much we're going to move up because, again, I don't think we're really going to move down too far. If we move, it probably would be higher than number 6. We land a hard commitment from cornerback Kion Tilley, so we do in the battle against Arizona State, which I expected, but I'm happy that the expectation is now the reality. We're in a recruiting battle for the tackle. Wow, we're number 4. Okay, folks, we're in position to get a first-round bye. Holy cow. 2 weeks ago, we were not even ranked as a playoff team. We were like number 14. But with those bye weeks, they're practically wins. It allows us to move up, clearly. We're in a recruiting battle for the tackle Tony and York. We're still in second, though, for Jaleel Woods, which is not really what I expected. I'm a little disappointed by that. But I'm really excited that we're a top 4 team. Right now, we're not slated to play in the first round, and we don't even have to worry about a conference championship game. We seriously might get like 2 months off, which could be really good. It could be really bad. So this is the scenario. Nebraska plays USC. That game's important. I think the Georgia game is important, and I think the Boise State game is important. I think if one, only one, of Boise State, Georgia, or USC lose, we will be in the top 4. If all 3 of them win, that's where it gets icky. Because I think USC would jump us if they beat Nebraska, but I don't think Nebraska would move below us, which would probably kick us down to 5. Of those 3 games, we only need one result to go our way. We only need one of Boise State, Georgia, or USC to lose in order to get a top 4 seed. I think all 3 of those teams are going to win, but we only need one of those teams to get upset. And USC's playing number 1, so how much of an upset would that really be? Oh, Miles Johnson's fallen to 4th for the Heisman. I guess it's not going to happen. At least he probably will go to the ceremony, hopefully. In terms of recruiting, we've got 2 very close races. I wish I had Byron York in for a visit last week. But I think we have a shot with Clemson, and I definitely think we have a shot with Taunton. With Jaleel Woods, though, we no longer fit his playing style deal breaker. I don't know what happened, but we went from a B- all the way to a C-. So now we're probably not going to get him, which sucks. Otherwise, I'm going to give all these guys points, given that this is, I think, the final week of recruiting, at least in terms of putting points on until the offseason. I gave everybody the scholarships they wanted. I doubled everybody's NIL. We still have 600 left, and that number I think will be way higher in the offseason because we're not going to land everybody on the board probably. We've got a solid class. It's only ranked number 59, only 1 4-star, but a bunch of good players, in my opinion, as we simulate through week 15. We land a hard commitment from Alex Tunn. We win the recruiting battle over Kentucky. We land a hard commitment from Zach Tucker. I'm happy his situation is done and over with, and we're getting him. We are locked out from a couple guys, and the safety Byron York is going to Clemson, which kind of sucks. I thought we had a real shot to win his race, but that's what happens in recruiting. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. That brings us to conference championship week. And again, we only need one of USC, Boise State, or Georgia to lose. And if one of them loses, then we don't even have to play a game in the first round. We will be the only team in this playoff to not have a conference championship appearance or a first round game, which means we're going to have a lot of time off. We're going to be very energized, but also maybe very rusty. Let's see what happens. A bunch of guys lock us out, recruiting-wise. That kind of sucks. Oh, wow, we're number 5. Wow. So all 3 of them did win. It looks like we will be playing in the first round. Okay, then. Wow, that's interesting. Let's go to the Heisman Trophy ceremony. This one means a little bit more to us this year because I think there's a good shot we will have a representative. And who knows, maybe he climbs up and wins. So let's answer the question. Is Miles Johnson at the very least a Heisman candidate? Yes, he is. The first nominee for the Heisman Trophy, Delaware wide receiver Miles Johnson, who's had such an amazing season for us leading the offense. His competitors are Arkansas State quarterback Chad Zimmerman. If you think a Delaware Heisman's crazy, what about an Arkansas State Heisman? Quarterback from the University of Texas, Eric Williams, who I think is maybe the highest-rated player in the entire save file. It looks like he had a crazy season. And then the last player, another quarterback from the University of Nebraska, it's Tim Paris. Didn't exactly do us any favors, it looks like, in the Big Ten title. I assume Nebraska lost to USC, given that we are now number 5. But it is pretty cool that Miles Johnson is the only non-quarterback here. So at the very least, he's being respected as the best non-quarterback in college football. Does he have the best suit? I think he does, standing with the other 3 Heisman candidates. So we'll find out if Miles Johnson will be bringing the Heisman Trophy back to the University of Delaware or if one of these other quarterbacks gets the job done. And so the winner of the Heisman Trophy is not Miles Johnson. Unfortunately, it's Tim Paris, the quarterback at Nebraska. Notice how Miles was the first guy to clap when his name was called. Our classy, our respectful superstar. You love to see it. You do not love to see this, though. Nebraska steals our Heisman, and it looks like they took away a top 4 seed from us in the playoff. Now, there's a good chance I think Nebraska might be the number 4 seed. And assuming we're number 5, if we win our first-round playoff game, maybe we'll get to see Nebraska in the second round. Who knows? Get a chance at revenge on the Cornhuskers. And maybe getting the 5 seed isn't the worst thing in the world because this is a lot of time off that we're having. So let's find out what happens. Do we win any awards? And who are we playing in the first round of the playoff? So we'll start with Miles Johnson. He does take home an award, the Paul Hornung Award for the most versatile player in college football. I guess because of his ability in the slot, on the outside, and as a returner. Wow, we're playing Pitt in the first round. Isn't that ironic? Quarterback Noah Halliday's team is the one who we're matched up with in the playoff. That's crazy. They were not even on my radar at all. I take it that they won the ACC, which has been a fairly weak conference throughout this series. So Johnson finishes third. He actually did move up, even with not playing in the conference title. He finishes third for the Maxwell and the Walter Camp, second for the Biletnikoff Award. I thought he would have a chance at winning the Best Return Man Award. Unfortunately, he did not. He does win the Hornung Award, but I feel like the requirements for this one are pretty strange. How are the quarterbacks on this list? For the Jet Award, he finished in third. I thought he was going to win it. Unfortunately, not quite. So we've got Pitt in the first round. Now, their actual ranking is not 12. It's number 19. But they won the ACC title. They beat Wake Forest. And by being the worst Power Conference champion, they are still able to slip in. Boise State, Georgia, and USC all won. They all won by only one score. All we needed was one of those teams to lose, and we wouldn't have to play in the first round. But now we've got a very, very strong Pitt team who we've played against before. We saw them back in Season 4 not that long ago, where we beat them early in the year. I wonder what this matchup is like for Noah Halliday. I mean, what are the odds of that we get to play against his team? So where do we go from here? Now, obviously, as you guys know, Madden 27 comes out. I assume by the time I upload this on Wednesday, that Madden 27 comes out tomorrow, and obviously we're going to be starting our series soon. I kind of recognize we're not going to get through 10 seasons with Delaware, and I want the young guys who we have now, like J.J. Bayer, to be some of the top upperclassmen when we start our long-term series in the next week or so. So I think what I'm going to do is try to figure out how we're going to get through the last seasons of this series. And in doing so, we're going to start by saving the playoff for the next episode. I'm going to leave you guys on a cliffhanger. Hope you all enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a like. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Peace out.